Introduction to Electromagnetic Tyrant. The light and color we see, the sound we hear, and the smell we smell, the food we eat, the clothes we wear, the house we live in, the phones and computers we play with, the temperature we feel, the friction we touch, the weather and material changes we observe, rain, thunder, collisions, explosions, combustion, growth, decay, and all chemical phenomena, our bodies, our thoughts, our world, all built on electromagnetic interactions. Whoever can control electromagnetic force is the tyrant who rules the world. However, the electromagnetic force is too profound. Let's learn how to discharge first. Chapter 1. The Big Bang. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Boom. A earth-shattering explosion caused a red fireball to appear in the sky, brighter than the sun. The shock wave generated by the explosion swept across thousands of square kilometers, and flames, strong winds, earthquakes, and dust roared and ravaged countless trees, as if the end of the world. Ah! Ji Xingho suddenly woke up and sat up straight in the darkness. The aftershocks of the big explosion lingered in his mind, roaring incessantly, causing his eyes to be filled with confusion and fear. It wasn't until a few minutes later that he gradually regained calmness. It's this nightmare again, damn it. Ji Xingho cursed in his mouth, shook his head helplessly, and glanced at the luminous clock by the bedside. It was 1 o'clock in the morning. For the past week, he had nightmares every night, and the content was exactly the same. In the dream, one's perspective is locked, appearing in outer space at first, like a meteor flying rapidly into the Earth's atmosphere, and finally exploding over a vast forest. Every time a dream explodes, Ji Xingho is awakened, feeling as if his brain has really exploded. And the main culprit behind all of this, turn on the lights. Ji Xingho let out a soft shout, and the bedroom gradually brightened up. Before his eyes could adjust to the brightness, Ji Xingho got out of bed and walked unsteadily into the bathroom. He saw himself in the mirror, looking haggard and tired, with a few prominent bloodstains around his eyes, and his mental state was very poor. I haven't slept well for a week in a row, and anyone else will feel lethargic. It's time to solve it. Ji Xingho muttered as he opened the cabinet behind the mirror and took out a beautiful woven necklace. The nylon string was woven into a complex and beautiful strap, and the pendant of the necklace was a gemstone, which was wrapped in a mesh and looked quite exquisite. Looking at the gemstone pendant on the necklace, Ji Xingho's eyes were very complicated. A dozen days ago, I went on a graduation trip to the Baikal Lake area with several classmates. On the last day, I spent 20 Asian yuan on this necklace as a souvenir at a local reindeer tribe stall. That booth has hundreds of similar woven necklaces, but each one has different pendants. Ji Xingho didn't notice any abnormalities when selecting, so he thought it looked good and bought it to wear. That night, he returned to Chang'an. Then, the nightmare began. Having had the same nightmare for several consecutive days, Ji Xingho locked in the reason, which was the pendant on the necklace, the gem that looked like a glass marble. The gemstone has a transparent outer shell and is embedded with a colorful nebula, shaped like an eye. However, the center of the iris is a hollow space, as if the pupils have been gouged out. A few subtle cracks spread from the middle, giving it an inexplicable sense of incomplete beauty. This thing is obviously not a natural gemstone, but an artificial one and not worth any money. Ji Xingho conducted some research on it out of curiosity. It was found that the hardness of gemstones is extremely astonishing, definitely many times harder than diamonds, exceeding the upper limit of the hardness tester. Its brittleness, melting point, water solubility, and electrical resistance were not detected, let alone its composition, completely beyond my understanding. He tossed and turned for a long time without leaving any marks on the gemstone. Even once, Ji Xingho soaked it in his own blood and still had no results. This made him even more certain that the gemstone was definitely a marvel. Without any results from gemstone research, Ji Xingho turned to searching for clues from his nightmare. The first thing that came to mind was the Tungusian explosion. The scene of the explosion in the dream is consistent with the situation of the Tungusian explosion in many places, such as exploding in the sky, without craters or celestial debris, the explosion range, the degree of destruction to the forest, etc., which can match the data from multiple historical surveys and studies. However, the Tungusian explosion occurred in 1908, and now it is 2223, more than 300 years apart. Moreover, the explosion occurred far from the Baikal Lake where I was playing, nearly 800 kilometers away. There is distance in both time and space. Nevertheless, Ji Xingho still suspects that the gemstone in his hand may be related to the Tungusian explosion, and even that it was this thing that caused the mysterious explosion. Unfortunately, I have no other evidence besides dreaming. Otherwise, I would be able to unravel an unsolved mystery from over 300 years ago. Ji Xingho chuckled at himself, and the question now is how to avoid having nightmares. I have already tried it before, whether or not I carry gemstones with me, even if I place them in other cities thousands of kilometers away, as long as I sleep, I still have nightmares, as if I am bound. He returned to the bedroom with the necklace, untied the string, took the gemstone out of the net, and placed it in the palm of his hand to carefully observe. Is this really a different species? This is not the first time Ji Xingho has come up with this idea. In fact, at the beginning, he speculated that the gemstone was likely a different species, but it did not match the characteristics of the species he knew. Whether it was the Astral Defense Council's heterologous database or the official website of the National Starcraft Department, he could not find the corresponding heterologous species. The so-called alien refers to strange things that contain supernatural powers. All the alien species on Earth come from the star realm. In 2033 AD, 13 star gates suddenly opened on all continents around the world, allowing you to enter the star realm by passing through the gates. The mysterious and vast celestial realm has shocked the world, overturning the cognition of scientists and violating known laws of physics. The star realm connects the entire Milky Way galaxy, using it as a bridge to reach every planet in the galaxy, and even every spatial coordinate in the interstellar space. The star world is not as vast and lonely as space, it is a vibrant world. The vast planetary realm nurtures countless species, with a vast quantity and diversity far exceeding any ecological planet. Compared to Earth, it is only a drop in the ocean. The evolution speed and intensity of species in the planetary realm are also millions of times faster than the Earth's biosphere. There are still a large number of intelligent races in the star realm, giving birth to many civilizations far more powerful than Earth. The opening of the Stargate has brought unprecedented calamity to unprepared humanity, including alien invasions, nuclear wars, the Third and Fourth World Wars, and nearly 2 centuries of global turmoil and extinction crises, completely rewriting the fate and civilization of all humanity. Now it is the 23rd century, and the Earth has reshaped its order and pattern. Human beings have long adapted to the existence of the star realm and utilized the unique resources produced by the star realm to promote rapid technological development and significantly increase productivity. However, the supernatural abilities from the star realm still have the greatest impact on humanity. People are accustomed to calling it supernatural. In the star realm, whether it is a race of intelligent civilizations or lower beings like beasts, individuals with powerful abilities will be born. They have different abilities, such as controlling lightning, immense power, changing forms, and stealth leaps. These are just the most common abilities, and there are also many magical and eerie abilities. The further they go on the path of life evolution, the stronger their abilities become, and even their lifespan will increase accordingly. Killing creatures in the star realm gives you a chance to acquire their abilities. And those who carry superpowers are mutants. Human beings are not born with supernatural abilities, but by fusing different species, they can also master supernatural abilities and achieve life evolution. In the Stargate era, humans were able to repel the invasion of alien races in the star realm not only because they were willing to die together with nuclear weapons, but also because some pioneers had mastered the ability to evolve life step by step, possessing the power to compete with the powerful alien races in the star realm. Up to now, the global population is over 40 billion, and there are over 2 billion aliens who possess supernatural abilities. Ji Xingho is not a stranger, but he is very familiar with mutants. In this century, everyone has learned more or less about exotic species and has also been exposed to them in reality. Aliens are not only born within the bodies of celestial beings, but also form in the natural environment of the celestial realm. They come in various forms, some resembling plant fruits and rhizomes, some like mineral gemstones, some are energy crystals, and there are many strange and bizarre species that are difficult to distinguish. The StarCraft Defense Council, which has branches in various countries around the world, has created the largest heterogeneous database on Earth. I carefully reviewed over 12,000 different species in the Jixing Torch database, especially comparing them with hundreds of gemstone forms. However, none of them match the gemstones in their hands. Not only does the appearance not match, but the common characteristics of gemstones are also vastly different from those of other species. All mutants will exhibit activity. Ji Xingho has been in contact with a few different species, and no matter what form they are, they can easily feel their vitality in their hands, just like eggs about to break through their shells. Without special identification, they can clearly feel the abundant vitality. And he didn't feel any activity on the gemstone, it was clearly a dead object. So at the beginning, it denied the speculation that it was a different species. But now, there is no absolute thing. Now Ji Xingho felt that he might be wrong, his eyes fixed on the gemstone in his palm. Perhaps it is a rare exception, appearing like a dead object, but actually an extremely rare species. Since it's a different species, it can merge. There is no clear standard for whether a human can integrate different species. Overall, the better the physical fitness, the higher the success rate of integrating different species. Ji Xingho stood up. Looking towards the training room connected to the bedroom, the mirror on the opposite wall reflects one's own figure. At a height of exactly 1.8 meters, it is neither tall nor short among adult males, only 2 to 3 centimeters higher than the average height. However, its body shape is symmetrical and slender, with the upper and lower body in a golden ratio. Its shoulders are wide, arms are almost 2 meters apart, hands and legs are long, and its strong muscles contain impressive explosive power. This is the result of years of personal exercise. In order to pursue strength and become an outsider, everyone on Earth is exercising. Especially young people who are full of expectations for the future are full of enthusiasm. Many people have been soaking in the gym every day since their teens, doing various physical training to prepare for the fusion of different species. The same goes for Ji Xingho. I started exercising at the age of 15 and have hardly ever relaxed. It has been 7 years now. Although he has not yet become an outsider, Ji Xingho has strong confidence. As long as the level of his fused alien is not particularly high or his abilities are extremely unique, the success rate of fusion is at least 80% or above. I originally planned to continue exercising for 1 or 2 years after my graduation trip, and then take a physical fitness test to apply for a super-level alien. Now we have to merge an unknown alien species. Ji Xingho's face showed a hint of hesitation. As a citizen of the Asia-Pacific People's United Community, after reaching adulthood, one can participate in 4 physical fitness tests. As long as one of them meets the standards, they can receive a free alien and try to merge into another. This is the welfare of every citizen of the Asia-Pacific community, and the state provides everyone with a fair opportunity. If the integration fails, not only does it not require any compensation, but it can also enjoy free recovery medical services at the best public hospitals. If successful, then there is a corresponding obligation. When needed in the future, outsiders must unconditionally respond to the government's call-up once and serve the country until their service is completed. Ji Xingho was confident of passing the physical fitness test at the age of 18, but he never participated in it in order to get a higher score in the test. The higher the score, the more abilities there are to choose from and the better the quality. The levels of abilities provided by the state from low to high, are basic, high. Quality, excellent, and beyond the limit. The vast majority of citizens who pass the test can only choose abilities from the first 3 levels. Citizens must pass all 4 tests of strength, speed, endurance, and willpower, and receive high scores. They must then pass multiple rounds of evaluation by the Star Realm Department before applying for the highest level of superpower. They must be ranked in the queue and obtain the superpower in chronological order. The original goal of Ji Xinghe was a super-level ability, with a probability of about 30%. But now it's different. If this is really a monster, Ji Xinghe whispered to himself, just because of the hardness of the gemstone and the special phenomenon that makes me have nightmares, it contains abilities that are at least beyond the limit level. Moreover, it is likely to be higher than the limit level, reaching the quality of a star meteor level ability. Star meteorite level. Ji Xinghe's heart pounded hard a few times. All abilities at this level are incredibly powerful, and their value is difficult to measure in monetary terms. Several publicly available Starfall level abilities in history are not for sale, but for exchange. The opportunity to win a meteorite level ability, even if the fusion fails, is still worth it. If it's a big deal, try again. It's just a few months delay. Ji Xinghe no longer hesitates. However, there is a question right now: how should I integrate it myself? There are 2 most common methods of heterogeneous fusion. The first one is to swallow, directly ingest the xenon and digest it. The second method is injection, which involves dissolving the heterologous species into a prepared drug and then injecting it into the human blood vessels to absorb it. There are also some relatively rare fusion methods, such as converting the alien species into gas and sucking it in, resonate with foreign spirits and integrate into the brain. There are also rare mutants that can directly penetrate the skin and enter the body. The most troublesome fusion method is implantation, which is generally applicable to organs with different morphologies extracted from biological bodies, like surgery, implanted into one's own body. If available, of course, Ji Xinghe would most like to merge through swallowing. The volume of a gemstone is not large, similar to that of a human eye, and can be swallowed in one bite. However, he doubted whether he could digest the hardness of the gemstone himself. I am most afraid of having to implant in order to merge. Xenotransplantation is not just about stuffing it into any part of the body, it must be studied in advance, and rejection reactions must also be considered. Sometimes, medication is needed to eliminate rejection, wound suturing, postoperative recovery, and so on, all of which require professional surgeons to perform the surgery. The most crucial thing is that the xenograft site is usually located in the body part where it works. For example, the Thunder Runner has a different form of a tendon that can discharge electricity. It needs to be implanted in the palm and connected to one's own tendon to master this ability. Ji Xinghe looked at the eye-shaped nebula inside the gemstone. Eyes. Do you want to implant it into my eye socket? Ji Xinghe couldn't help but feel numb on his scalp. His orbital space is limited, and he can't fit 2 eyeballs on Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com. Before implantation, he needs to remove one of his own eyeballs. This cost is too high. In case of failure, although with current medical technology, re-implantation of the eyeball is not difficult and can quickly bring back light, the pain and psychological impact endured during surgery are by no means unbearable for ordinary people. Ji Xinghe held a gem and gestured on his eyelids. This gem really looks so much like the eyeball. Suddenly, a thought came to his mind, and without much consideration, he tried to lightly touch the gemstone with his right eye. The eyeball is the most sensitive organ in the human body. Suddenly, Ji Xinghe felt a slight stabbing pain and instinctively closed his eyes. However, the piercing pain grew stronger and stronger, as if mixed with sand, tears streamed out. Not only the right eye, but also both eyes felt pain. What's going on? Ji Xinghe endured the pain and opened his eyes. His vision was blurry, as if he had been covered in a thick mosaic, unable to see anything clearly. He touched his cheek and felt a warm and sticky sensation on his hand, faintly revealing a red color. My eyes are bleeding. Ji Xingho's heart tightened as he realized, where are the gemstones? The gemstone that was originally held in his hand disappeared at some point. Before he could be happy, this method actually worked. Suddenly, there was a sharp pain in his mind, as if an awl was wriggling his brain, making a painful scream and falling to the ground. Blood flowed out of his 7 orifices. Boom! In front of Ji Xingho's pitch-black eyes, he saw the scene of the Big Bang again, like a dream scene. Before his consciousness fell into darkness, a thought flashed through him. My head won't really explode this time, will it? Chapter 2. Universal Star Pupils. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ji Xingho let out a moan in his mouth and then regained consciousness. I'm not dead. He convulsed and turned over, only to find himself sitting on the ground, surrounded by a familiar bedroom. There was a clot of blood where he had just lay. Apart from feeling a little dizzy, there are no other discomforts on the body. Ji Xingho felt a wave of fear in his heart. Before falling into a coma, he really thought he was going to die. I am young and have not yet enjoyed a great life. The vast Milky Way and star world, countless magnificent landscapes, and exciting adventures have not yet begun. It is a pity to die like this. Just live. Ji Xingho, feeling fortunate to have survived the disaster, attempted to find the culprit behind all of this. Looking around, he did not find the gem. Is it really a different species that I successfully fused? He was both surprised and delighted, although he couldn't figure out why the gemstone fused when it touched his own eyes, but it was also a good result. What about superpowers? Getting up from the ground, Ji Xingho realized that he didn't seem to have any supernatural abilities. He stood up unsteadily, covering his head, feeling his head getting increasingly dizzy. The field of vision is also flickering. Everything I see in my eyes is trembling, like a screen with unstable signal reception. Every few seconds, the screen goes black for a moment, and my vision becomes blurry. Then, I quickly regain clarity. This repetition makes me feel uncomfortable. My eyes are having problems. Ji Xingho realized that it was very likely that this was his fused ability. He stumbled against the wall and walked into the bathroom, standing in front of the wash basin. He was startled when he saw himself in the mirror. My face was covered in blood stains, with a lot of blood flowing from my eyes, nostrils, and ears, as well as some unknown liquid. It was white and red, mixed with fresh blood and condensed again, covering half of my face, as if my brain had been shattered, looking very scary. Wao Ji Xingho quickly cleaned away the dirt on his face, but did not find any wounds on his head or any strange things growing. Only then did he breathe a sigh of relief. Fortunately, there was no disfigurement. He touched his face. Although I am not the kind of handsome guy that everyone loves, I am also quite good looking. My facial features are sharp, and my temperament is sunny and resolute. I am admired by many female classmates in school, so I can be considered a handsome young man. If you don't do well in the future, you can also consider relying on your face to make a living. Ji Xingho glanced at the time and felt unconscious for about half an hour. At this point, the dizziness in the brain has decreased significantly, and the field of vision is gradually no longer blurry and flickering, as if everything is returning to normal. Not right. Ji Xingho noticed something unusual. It's not normal at all. The field of vision does not flicker anymore, nor is it blurry. It seems that the visual nerve signal has become stable, but in turn, it begins to increase. The world in my own eyes is becoming clearer and I am seeing more and more details. Countless tiny water droplets float in the air of the bathroom. The originally spotless ground was actually stained with a thin layer of dust, many of which were debris falling from one's own skin. When I lifted my hand, the skin on the back of my hand looked like a dry and cracked earth, with grooves crisscrossing and every strand of fuzz appearing fine, and even the dust adhering to the cilia could be seen. The whole world has changed in the eyes of Ji Xingho. Eagle's Eye. Ji Xingho first thought of Eagle Eye, which, after fusion, possesses several times the ability to see far beyond the average person, as well as extremely sharp dynamic vision, comparable to the eyes of an eagle, hence the name. Eagle Eye is an excellent level ability that is not very rare. Ji Xingho was somewhat disappointed. If it's just an Eagle Eye ability, then I'm at a loss. There is a big gap between excellent abilities and unlimited abilities, and they cannot be compared at all. It shouldn't be Eagle Eyes. Ji Xingho quickly discovered the difference. The most prominent feature of Eagle Eyes is their ability to see far, but what they are currently seeing is up close, and what they see in front of them is like a magnifying glass. Is this seeing micro? Ji Xingho was a bit puzzled. Like Eagle Eye, seeing micro is also an excellent ability. One can see far and the other can see close, but seeing micro is better. In addition to visual enhancement, seeing micro has a very powerful auxiliary effect in close combat, and its value is higher than Eagle Eye. How can two completely opposite abilities be manifested simultaneously? Moreover, how can a different species have two abilities? Ji Xingho returned to the bedroom. The design of the apartment he rented is a common minimalist style, without a living room. Upon entering, there is a spacious bedroom of over 60 square meters, and the remaining 40 square meters are divided into two parts, serving as a study and training room, which are interconnected and have a clear view. There are very few home furnishings in the apartment, with 2 rows of sofas and a coffee table in the middle. There is a simple bar next to it that also serves as a dining table, with a kettle and several other food utensils on top. There is also a virtual platform login module in the corner. Apart from that, there is no other decoration, and the entire apartment appears empty and deserted. A wide king bed is placed near the balcony, and a complete dimming glass is embedded on the wall behind the head of the bed. Open the scene window. Ji Xingho whispered a sentence. Suddenly, the glass wall became transparent, and the scenery outside caught the eye. Brilliant neon lights shone into the apartment, and when looked out, they were the radiance emanating from skyscrapers. In the darkness, the buildings were like scattered peaks, blocking the night sky. Hundreds of residential buildings in the high-rise building are brightly lit, and advertisements are playing circularly on the huge screen outside the building. Colorful lights are interwoven together, like a dream. Looking down, one can see multiple layers of superconducting highways erected between the buildings. Maglev cars are driving at high speed on top of each other, with taillights elongating and converging, forming several endless streams of light that surround the skyscrapers, like the blood vessels of this super city, crisscrossing and turbulent. Ji Xingho has long been accustomed to this. He stood in front of the glass window, gazing into the distance, and his gaze quickly locked onto a building 3,000 meters away. The night is very nice tonight, without any clouds or mist blocking it. Ji Xingho clearly saw the 4 glowing characters on the top of the building. Chaoxing Group. In the past, he could only vaguely see 4 big characters there, but couldn't see the content clearly. Now, not only can he see the big characters clearly, but even the smaller row of slogans below can be seen clearly. Chaoxing Group is dedicated to serving you, helping to break through bottlenecks and achieve extraordinary life. Hee hee. Ji Xingho couldn't help but smile. This Chaoxing Group can be said to be well-known, and is one of the top companies in the country that helps outsiders break through their cultivation. It has been listed for decades and its market value has already exceeded 1 trillion yuan. However, due to its homophonic name, Chaoxing, which contrasts sharply with the national population situation and fertility policy, Chaoxing Group is quite ironic and often used as a joke. It's indeed Eagle Eye, but it's not just Eagle Eye abilities. Ji Xingho withdrew his gaze and landed on his hand, feeling a meticulous touch that seemed to make his thinking faster. He thought to himself, this is clearly the effect of seeing the micro dot. Eagle's eye and seeing micro, two abilities combined into one. And not only that. After feeling for a moment, Ji Xingho realized that when his gaze was focused on a target, there was a similar effect of mental locking. He had an intuition that if he had something in his hand, he could throw it out, and as long as the target was within a distance, he would definitely hit it. Indeed, it is precise. Ji Xingho was quite surprised. The precise effect is to significantly improve the hit rate of shooting and throwing items. After training, shooting at fixed targets can even reach the point of hitting 100 shots and accurately grasp the size of one's own strength. Any body movements related to accuracy will be more accurate. Although precision is only a high-quality ability, inferior to excellence, the combination of eagle eye and microvision, as well as precision and the combination of three visual abilities, are definitely comparable to and even surpassing super-limited abilities. It seems there are more than 3 abilities. Ji Xingho closed the window and continued to explore his abilities. Sure enough, he soon discovered that he could see at night. There were no light sources in the room, and strange images formed in his field of vision that could not be described by color. The brightness was low, but the contours and movements of the objects were very clear, almost indistinguishable from normal vision. It should be infrared vision. Ji Xingho was excited. This is another outstanding ability, and it is also a perceptual ability. What kind of gem is it? Next, Ji Xingho became increasingly surprised and explored other effects. Even with closed eyes, as long as one's mind moves, one can still see the surrounding scenery clearly. And there is an intuition in my mind, as if I have an invisible eye, constantly monitoring everything around me, so that I can make the right response in any situation. For the former, Ji Xingho has never heard of a similar ability, and it cannot be found in the alien database. The latter is somewhat similar to the high-quality ability, intuitive reflex, but clearly more powerful than the intuitive reflex. 5 abilities, all related to the eyes. Ji Xingho suddenly had a guess. Could it be that it was originally a superpower, but of unimaginable quality, with multiple low-level abilities at the same time? It is common knowledge that a different species only contains one ability. He observed his eyes against the mirror. Black eyes are no different from before, with normal iris shape and no visible abnormalities, let alone traces of gemstones. Suddenly, Ji Xingho noticed a faint anomaly. My right pupil, also known as the small circular hole in the center of the black iris, is the channel through which light enters the eye. Suddenly, a slight halo appears around the periphery, revealing a subtle aperture. The edge of this aperture is very narrow, less than half a millimeter, and most people cannot see it clearly, but it is visible in front of their own eyes. The aperture is very dim but still colorful, perfectly fitting one's pupils and surrounding them. Several slightly invisible cracks emerged deep in the pupils. Ji Xingho is extremely familiar with the shape of this nebula. Over the past week, he has observed the gemstones countless times and is familiar with every detail. It merged with my right eye. Ji Xingho was about to continue his research, when the pupil aperture suddenly flashed, a human image appeared in his own field of vision. This image was composed of light dotted lines, which could clearly see the internal and external structure of the body, and the facial features were identical to his own. What is it? Ji Xingho was taken aback and waved his hand in front of him. The virtual image of his body was not affected at all, indicating that it was not an illusion. No matter which direction you turn your head in, it is always fixed in front of you. He remained calm and observed carefully that there were several peculiar symbols next to the human body phantom, which should be a type of writing, but he did not recognize them. This idea had just emerged, and all the words were blurry for a moment. At the same time, my mind was dizzy, and when it became clear again, it had already turned into Chinese characters. Master of the Universe Star Pupils. Ji Xingho, Race. Earthlings, Level. None, Ability. None, spiritual energy. 0. After seeing the content clearly, Ji Xingho couldn't help but take a cold breath and was shocked beyond measure, unable to speak for a long time. The content of this information interface is very simple, similar to the game attribute panel I have played before, but its presentation completely subverts cognition. Sent it. I rely on my hard work, I've hit a big luck this time. Ji Xingho almost jumped up, but fortunately he has been much calmer than his peers since childhood. His emotions calmed down in a few minutes and he carefully studied the information interface. The most crucial information is in the first line of text. The Lord of the Universe Star Eyes. Originally, the gemstone was called the Versatile Star Eyes. Ji Xingho suddenly realized that this name perfectly matched its form, similar to the eagle eye's ability to see micro-precision, which should all come from the Wanxiang star pupil. The so-called myriad phenomena in Chinese characters are defined as all things and phenomena in the universe. When I was converting text just now, I felt dizzy. It should be because Wanxiang Xingtong was retrieving knowledge from my brain and presenting it in a way that the host could understand. It can be inferred from this that the Vientiane pupil must be an artificial creation. It's not even a different species. Ji Xingho's heart was filled with awe, unable to imagine what kind of civilization or race created the Wanxiang star eye. It can be certain that the opponent's technological level must far exceed that of Earth. Is it one of the most powerful hegemonic civilizations in the Milky Way? How did the Wanxiang star pupil come to Earth? Will disasters arise in the future? There shouldn't be any future troubles. Ji Xingho didn't panic too much. If there was really any trouble that came to Earth, it was not something he could solve on his own, and worrying was useless. He set aside his worrisome thoughts and continued to check the information interface. Race goes without saying. Rank should be the level of life evolution. The numerous civilizations and kingdoms in the Milky Way and Star Realm have different divisions of strength and level naming, but there is also a universal standard that applies to all regions, which is the number of life evolution times. 1 evolution is first order, 2 is second order, and so on. I am not a stranger yet, so of course I have no rank. Similarly, there are no supernatural powers. The Wanxiang star eye is an artificial creation, it is a tool and not a mastered ability, which means that one can also merge another ability. However, after thinking for a long time, Ji Xingho couldn't understand what the final, spiritual energy meant. The human body phantom in the interface is also unclear about its function. Unconsciously, dawn broke on the horizon. Ji Xingho closed the information interface and quickly fell asleep in bed. This time, he finally stopped having nightmares. When Ji Xingho woke up at noon, he felt full of energy and had been exhausted for several days. He found himself in an unprecedentedly good physical condition at zhaoshuyuan.com. He quickly woke up to wash up, had a quick lunch, changed into clean clothes, and left the house. After a night of contemplation, Ji Xingho understood one thing. To understand the specific use of the Wanxiang star eye, he first wanted to become an outsider. This is not difficult for him. Ji Xingho's apartment is on the 45th floor. Taking the elevator to the parking lot downstairs, an unmanned maglev car drove over and parked steadily in front of him. He opened the door and sat in the back seat, fastened his seatbelt, and the car immediately started silently and drove out of the parking lot. After leaving the building, the car drove several hundred meters on the ground, entered a ramp entrance, quickly climbed, and soon entered the superconducting highway erected dozens of meters above the ground. Cars whizzed past the window and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Buzzing, the electric engine roared slightly, and Ji Xingho's back felt a thrust. The maglev car steadily accelerated in the acceleration lane while continuously changing lanes to the left. 10 seconds later, when the car reached a speed of 350 km per hour, 4 tires were tucked into the chassis, and the entire car was suspended while switching to the cruising lane. Ji Xingho looked out the car window. The buildings on both sides of the superconducting highway quickly retreated, and even during the day, the huge advertising screens and neon lights were still bright and dazzling. As the car sped forward, colorful light streams formed in the field of vision, very dazzling and psychedelic. Previously, it was difficult for Ji Xingho to see the scenery on the street clearly at such a high speed. Now with a casual glance, everything he saw was incredibly clear in his eyes, like a high-definition camera capturing every frame of the picture. This feeling. Ji Xingho exclaimed sincerely in his heart, it's really amazing. Chapter 3. Testing. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The car sped for more than 10 minutes, and there were more and more high-rise buildings on both sides of the superconducting highway, getting higher and higher. 300 to 400 meter tall buildings could be seen everywhere, one after another rising from the ground, continuous, and even several buildings exceeding a kilometer in height. As it gets closer to the city center, the traffic on the superconducting highway becomes denser, the number of layers on the highway increases, and the width of the lanes doubles. As the capital of the Asia-Pacific community, Chang'an is one of the largest super-cities on Earth. Nearly 40,000 square kilometers of the Guangzhou Plain have all been included in the capital circle, with a resident population of over 300 million and a high population density, ranking among the top 5 globally. Although the government has introduced various policies over the years and guided citizens not to gather in the capital, the results have been minimal. There are both reasons for the upward trend of human nature and historical legacy factors, which are very complex. The difficulty of managing such a huge city is unimaginable. Chang'an is divided into 36 administrative districts, and the Qishan district where Ji Xingho resides is located to the west, more than 100 kilometers away from the city center. After flying for 20 minutes, the car left the superconducting highway and the destination of this trip was not far from the ramp. Ji Xingho got off the car and looked up at the building in front of him. This is a sports stadium. The design of the sports stadium located on the north bank of the Wei River is very unique. The main building resembles a diamond-shaped spaceship sailing at high speed, with sharp edges and silver-gray glass covering the exterior walls, shining brightly in the sunlight. It is one of the landmark buildings of the capital. The Tianjin National Stadium covers an area of over 150,000 square meters, but it is only 20 floors high, making it a luxury in the heart of Chang'an, where every inch of land is precious. This sports stadium is a holy land in the hearts of countless people nationwide and even globally. Because it is the home ground of multiple teams in the Asian Communist Party's Super League and First Division League. Here, multiple cultural performances are held every week, and we have hosted multiple international invitational tournaments and 2 Super World Cups. We have staged many exciting battles that are still talked about today, giving birth to several renowned world champions. Ji Xingho used to come here to watch games. However, he is here today to participate in a physical fitness test. The Tianjin Sports Stadium is a public facility, and the Star Realm Department has set up a Alien Service Center inside. Ji Xingho enters through the gate, and the 1st to 5th floors on the west side of the venue belong to the Alien Service Center. The people inside are bustling, and most of them are young people who come and go, just like himself, to do physical fitness tests. Some are nervous, some are calm, but their eyes are full of anticipation. He made an appointment for the service project last night and followed the instructions to transfer it to the 2nd floor. Soon, Ji Xingho arrived at a window. Ji Xingho. A female staff member wearing a white uniform read out her name. When she saw the photo on the screen, she instinctively looked up and secretly glanced at Ji Xingho, smiling and asking, "Mr. Ji is applying for a physical fitness test?" "Yes," Ji Xingho nodded. "Please verify your identity." The staff showed rare enthusiasm. Ji Xingho followed her guidance and stood in the designated area on the ground. A circular instrument scanned him from head to toe and collected a few milliliters of blood for anti-doping and genetic testing. "Mr. Ji, please rest in the waiting area." The results will be available soon. Ji Xingho sat down in the waiting area, looking calm and composed, but in fact, his heart couldn't help but feel a little uneasy. The scan just now is a very important step to confirm the applicant's information, in order to prevent citizens from being stolen and claiming foreign identities. Nowadays, with the advancement of biotechnology, it is almost possible to impersonate someone else's identity as genuine. Disguising appearance and body shape is the simplest. Facial feature recognition, fingerprints, voice lines, and even the iris can all be manipulated, even the safest genetic sequence. As long as someone pays enough, complete reproduction can be achieved. This kind of thing has happened in history, where a gang used genetic technology to deceive alien service centers and falsely claimed a series of high-quality mutants. Since then, identity verification has become more stringent. Ji Xingho's identity is certainly not a problem. He is concerned about the influence of the Wanxiang star pupil, especially the iris information in his right eye. If it does not match, it will be very troublesome. I observed for a long time last night, and unless I intentionally revealed it, the aperture on the right pupil would not appear, but I'm afraid it's just in case. Fortunately, he received the notification a few minutes later. Verification passed. Ji Xingho breathed a sigh of relief and got up to go to the testing site. The tests set by the Star Realm Department are divided into 4 categories: strength, speed, endurance, and willpower. In fact, only the first 3 are directly related to physical fitness. Although a strong physique can cultivate stronger willpower, there are exceptions to this category. The passing criteria for each test are different. As long as you pass one test, you are considered qualified to apply for a different species. The better the test score, the higher the score, the more projects passed, the higher the overall evaluation, and the ability to apply for higher grade variants. Ji Xingho chose 2 tests, strength and speed. He first arrived at the Hall of Strength. This is like a huge gym, with rows of barbells and stands placed. Several people have already been tested under the supervision of the examiner, while others are watching or warming up nearby. The people around, regardless of gender, are all strong and have obvious signs of exercise. The content of the strength test is very simple. Without equipment, push, squat, and hard pull, each action is completed by doing 10 times. Then add up the 3 weight data. The male reaches 500 kilograms and a female reaches 350 kilograms, even if the strength test is passed. The rules may sound simple, but they are actually quite difficult. This standard falls between having talent and not having talent. People with slight talent can achieve a total weight of 500 kilograms with just a few years of proper training, hard work, and modern fitness technology. Unfortunately, the vast majority of people are unable to persist in training, and the level of effort is not enough to reach the point where talent is needed. Those who dare to participate in the test are generally confident that they have passed. The same goes for Ji Xingho. He didn't go to watch others test, he chose a corner himself, took off his clothes, and silently warmed up. I first performed a set of stretching exercises to increase the blood flow rate, then picked up 2 5-kilogram dumbbells and lay down on the inclined bench to do several sets of bird-level rowing movements. I also changed to heavier dumbbells before finally getting the barbell and slowly increasing the weight. After more than 10 minutes, Ji Xingho's whole body was feverish and he was sweating slightly. Ji Xingho. The examiner over there shouted loudly, "Has Ji Xingho come?" "Here we go." Ji Xingho walked over quickly. The examiner is a man in his 30s, tall and strong, over 2 meters tall. The trapezius muscle on his neck is high and raised, supporting his double tank top. He is so strong that he looks like a bear. Standing there, it is shocking and clearly a strange person. He should be a giant general, an intermediate outsider, Ji Xingho thought to himself, a typical big muscle bully. The examiner was also looking at Ji Xingho. First, he confirmed his identity, and then his gaze scanned Ji Xingho's body. He nodded slightly and said, "Your hand and foot length ratio is very good, and you have practiced well. Your muscle shape is very standard, but just looking good is useless. If you want to achieve strength standards, you need to work harder and strive for extraordinary performance." Ji Xingho was quite surprised, as the examiner's eyesight was very accurate. "My own strength is not particularly outstanding, and I can only reach the standard smoothly at the beginning of the year. In the past, out of 10 gym training sessions, I always failed 1 or 2 times. The men and women waiting for testing around are also observing the seasonal spark. Men's gaze is pure, just looking at the size of their muscles, while women's gaze is different. They focus more on Ji Xingho's face." "How much do you want to lift?" the examiner asked. 130 kilograms. Ji Xingho installed the barbell panel and adjusted the angle of the inclined stool according to his body shape data before lying down. He held the iron rod with both hands and took a deep breath after the examiner gave the start command. He exerted force to slightly lift the barbell away from the bracket, then his arms sank until the rod touched his chest before pushing it up again. Repeat the bench push 10 times to complete a set of movements in one go. From beginning to end, Ji Xingho's expression was calm, and he did not wear a mask of pain on his face. The examiner was surprised by how easily he did it, but immediately announced, "The move is complete, the score is valid, and the weight of the bench press is 130 kilograms." Actually, Ji Xingho himself was also surprised. Although it has integrated with the universal star pupil, apart from its visual and sensory functions, it has not increased one's physical strength. It should be the effect of seeing micro and precision, he nodded to himself. The similar functions of these 2 universal star pupils allow him to accurately grasp his own strength, and his force movements become more standardized, indirectly increasing his strength. "I can now lift a higher weight." However, Ji Xingho did not rashly increase the predetermined weight, as long as it can pass the test. The following squats and hard pulls, Ji Xingho successfully completed a set of movements, with scores of 181 kilograms and 195 kilograms respectively, and a total weight score of 506 kilograms, passing the strength test. The examiner looked at Ji Xingho's relaxed expression and couldn't help but say, "Your maximum strength is far more than 506 kilograms. If you go back and practice harder, you can at least improve by 100 kilograms and get a higher score. Do you want to consider it?" Ji Xingho understood his meaning and asked himself to give up this test and come again next time. A higher score means better heterozygosity. But he already has a plan. "No need, please help me register my grades, thank you." Ji Xingho politely declined. "Unfortunately." The examiner shook his head and showed regret on his face. He had seen many talented people like Ji Xingho, but most of them lacked patience. When they trained to pass the test, they hastily applied for a different species, unwilling to wait for an extra year or 2. In the future, they will know that it is difficult to obtain high-grade mutants. National welfare is the only opportunity for over 90% of outsiders to easily obtain high-level abilities in their lifetime. The examiner did not advise further and helped Ji Xingho register his grades. Ji Xingho left the power hall and arrived at the speed testing venue next door, where there were fewer people and more than a dozen treadmills specifically designed for testing. The content of the speed test is a 400-meter run, with males requiring a time of no more than 52 seconds and females requiring a time of 60 seconds. The less time it takes, the higher the score. Because he had just warmed up, Ji Xingho did a few stretching exercises and then climbed onto a treadmill. This type of treadmill is specifically designed for testing speed. The tracks are widened, and the faster the tester runs, the faster the tracks also rotate, maintaining synchronization. In addition, there will be wind blowing in front to simulate wind resistance. After the examiner confirmed his identity, Ji Xingho immediately threw off his long legs and ran at full speed. Bang bang bang, the footsteps were fast and steady. In the first 300 meters, Ji Xingho ran effortlessly, but in the last 100 meters, he sprinted towards the limit of anaerobic exercise, accumulating a large amount of lactic acid in his body, and his face began to contort. Test completed. The speed of the treadmill slowed down to a stop, and Ji Xingho jumped down, panting heavily on his knees. He was exhausted and a bit nauseous. The final 10 seconds of sprinting felt like an hour long. This is why there are very few people participating in speed tests, and 400-meter running is almost the most painful and tiring exercise for ordinary people. Moreover, running requires more talent than strength, and many people cannot run fast no matter how they train. 45.8 seconds. Ji Xingho looked at the time on the treadmill, which was almost a second faster than his past best score, far exceeding the test requirements. The examiner next to him looked surprised, as it had been a long time since such a good result appeared. Ji Xingho calmed down and left. Previously, the examiner for the strength test said that his strength training was not good enough, but it was actually intentional by Ji Xingho. His true strength lies in speed and explosiveness. If he focuses on strength training, gaining weight and muscle, then his speed may not improve and he may even be dragged down. The remaining two of the four tests, the endurance test is a 10,000-meter run, which requires a duration of no more than 33 minutes for males and no more than 40 minutes for females. The willpower test is to persist for 10 minutes in level 7 electric shock pain, with the same gender standard. Both of these tests were passed by the Spark season. He often tests himself during training, and can run for 29 minutes at 10,000 meters. He can also endure electric shock pain for more than 10 minutes. In fact, 4 years ago, when Ji Xingho was 18 years old, he had already met the speed test standards, but he did not participate in the test until he graduated from university, in order to pass all 4 tests and obtain a higher score, and apply for a super ability. But now, after obtaining the Wanxiang Star Eye, he changed his plan and gave up striving for the ultimate ability, instead lowering it to a lower level of exceptional ability. There are 2 reasons. The first one is that in the short term, Ji Xingho wants to maintain a relatively low presence by searching for the Shuyuan website www.zhaoshuyuan.com. Applying for Beyond Limit abilities requires independent evaluation and political review by the Star Realm Department, and is not limited to scanning and drawing blood. The Star Realm Department will thoroughly investigate their resumes from childhood to adulthood, conduct multiple rounds of physical examinations, participate in several interviews, and assess officials who are at least extraordinary, and even legendary. Ji Xingho is not confident that Wanxiang Xingtong will not be discovered. Moreover, based on one's own test results, it is not 100% possible to apply for Beyond the Limit abilities. There are too many geniuses in the 5.6 billion people of the Asia-Pacific community. Every year, hundreds of people pass 4 tests and all receive full marks. Many of them are younger, and there are many underage individuals aged 15 or 16. And since I am 22 years old this year, I don't have much advantage. Ji Xingho estimates that the probability of applying for an unlimited ability is only 1/3. In order to avoid a high probability, it is not worth risking the exposure of the Universal Star Eye. The second reason is that Ji Xingho has already figured out the path he will take in the next few years. Based on the functions of the Universal Star Pupil and the fusion of adaptive abilities, it can quickly form combat power. The few super-limited abilities available for application do not match the Universal Star Pupil. Ji Xingho came to the first floor of the Alien Service Center with a future plan in mind. "Hello, I have passed the physical fitness test and now I want to apply for a different species," he said to the staff in the application room on the first floor of the service center. "Please wait a moment." The staff member is a young woman who quickly confirmed Ji Xingho's test results and asked, "Mr. Ji Xingho, may I ask which variant you want to apply for?" 1,000 clever hands. Ji Xingho answered without hesitation, 1,000 spirit skilled hand of a ranger. Chapter 4. Rangers. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Good. The staff didn't have any feelings about Ji Xingho's choice, so they immediately registered and applied for him. Ji Xingho is not worried that his application will be rejected. He passed 2 tests and scored slightly higher than most people. Even though Qianlingshu is a popular ability, its acquisition quantity is not low. Even if you have to wait in line, you won't have to wait for a long time. He asked after himself, is there an existing variant of the Qianlingshu in the service center? The female staff hesitated for a moment. She lowered her head and glanced at Ji Xingho's test results before replying, there should be some. A batch of mutants arrived the day before yesterday, and a few of them were skilled craftsmen. Once Mr. Ji's application is approved, he will be able to obtain the mutants immediately. Thank you very much. Ji Xingho smiled happily at her and sat aside to wait, thinking to himself, if we can get the alien species today, it will be very smooth. Qianling's skilled hand is an outstanding ability. The classification criteria for superpowers were initially issued by the Star Realm Defense Council, with the first 4 levels ranging from basic, high. Quality, excellent, and beyond the limit. In fact, this standard is not only used by various countries on Earth, but also widely used in the Star world, with slightly different specific names. Excellent abilities are already very rare abilities. Even among outstanding abilities, Qianlingshu belongs to the most sought-after category, with a market price of approximately 1.6 million Asian dollars. Many times, even if you have money to make a purchase, you have to wait for a period of time. The reason for this is that Qianling's skilled hand is the core ability of the professional template ranger. And, career templates, can be understood as the path of life evolution for outsiders. Under normal circumstances, each alien life evolves once and can only fuse one alien species. Therefore, the selection of abilities becomes particularly important, which is the most crucial factor in determining the strength of an alien. However, there are too many abilities. Allowing outsiders to choose for themselves has no idea which abilities are the optimal solution. The Stargate has been open for nearly 2 centuries, and most of the abilities obtained on Earth, along with the collected information, have been included in the alien database of the Star Realm Defense Council, totaling over 12,000 abilities. Various countries on Earth, as well as some forces, organizations, and individuals, must have hidden some supernatural information. If all of it is included, the number of supernatural abilities may reach 20,000. More than 90% of these 20,000 plus abilities are basic abilities with similar effects, low power, and even useless waste abilities. It is almost impossible to thoroughly study the remaining 10% of abilities. Many abilities have conflicts and cannot merge simultaneously. Some abilities are not suitable for humans on Earth, possibly due to genetic differences or other reasons. In short, the success rate of fusion is 0. Some abilities have successfully merged, but their power will also decrease significantly, even inexplicably losing its effectiveness. And it varies from person to person, very complex. Of course, there are also positive examples with good results, where certain abilities can be mastered together with other abilities, complementing each other and producing effects that far exceed normal power. So since the 21st century, countries around the world have invested countless resources in researching abilities, trying to find the best combination of abilities, while also stealing from other civilizations and races. After 2 centuries of accumulation, now countries have a large amount of data. Analyzing the data of psychic abilities and practicing it, a series of optimal combinations of psychic abilities were ultimately obtained. These combinations of abilities are called career templates. Just like in virtual games, each profession template has a name, such as Giant General, Shadow Blade, Martial Arts Master, Gravity Warrior, Mind Hacker, Superconducting Mage, and so on. A career template typically consists of 5 abilities, with an excess of 7 or 8 abilities. The biggest advantage of a career template is stability, guaranteed strength, relatively common ability formation, low conflict probability, high fusion success rate, and great potential. It can quickly form combat power and has mature ways to break through bottlenecks, making it the choice of most outsiders. Although career templates are fixed, the path of evolution is not like that. As long as you are not afraid of conflicts and successfully integrate abilities, aliens can change their minds halfway and switch to other career templates at any time. Of course, there are always people who want to take a different path, give up career templates, and freely explore the path of evolution. This type of person is called a jobless outsider, and is very rare. Unemployed individuals are either geniuses or fools, or have acquired abilities that are extremely powerful but lack research information, and are not within the scope of professional templates. They have no choice but to do so. So the strength of non-employed individuals is either particularly strong or particularly weak. The upper limit is very high, and the lower limit is even lower. The vast majority of outsiders still prioritize stability and choose career templates. Nowadays, there are over 40 of the most mature career templates suitable for humans worldwide. If we include incomplete career templates and some unique ability combinations, the number will double or triple. Ji Xingho had no intention of becoming a jobless outsider. After careful consideration last night, he chose to become a ranger. Ranger is one of the most popular career templates. According to the data statistics of the Star Realm Defense Council, Rangers account for 7% of the world's aliens, ranking 5th in terms of number. The main combat style of Rangers is long-range attacks, and their melee strength is also extremely impressive. They have agile body movements, quick reactions, and belong to a relatively comprehensive professional template. Moreover, Rangers are very popular and there is no need to worry about employment issues. The root lies in the star realm. The celestial realm lies between reality and illusion, and is a parallel world of the material universe. It is a super-dimensional space constructed by the combination of the thoughts and emotions of countless intelligent creatures and the infinite energy of the center of the Milky Way. The natural laws of the celestial realm are completely different from the physical rules of the real universe. It is filled with a magical energy that acts on both the microscopic and spiritual worlds, and has idealistic characteristics. Scientists use a term abandoned by physics in the 20th century to call this energy ether. The ether is the root of all supernatural forces. It can open the star gate leading to the star world, stimulate the evolution of life, master great power, and forge extraordinary. At the same time, the ether also renders all electronic devices, thermal weapons, and nuclear weapons ineffective in the interstellar realm. Any weapon tool that relies on physical rules and chemical reactions cannot be used in the interstellar realm. This is the iron law of the star realm. Even the oldest and most powerful civilization in the Milky Way must follow this rule. Without the use of hot weapons, aliens lose most of their long-range attack methods, especially low-level aliens who can only engage in close combat in the star realm. So long-range attack capability is particularly precious in the star realm. And Rangers can meet the needs. The construction of the professional template for Ranger revolves around the ability to shoot, initially using bows and arrows as the main weapon, and also having strong melee abilities. More importantly, the Ranger leaves the star realm and returns to Earth, replacing bows and arrows with hot weapons and firearms, which will increase his strength by several levels. On Earth, the strength of ordinary people decreases relatively. Only Rangers and a few other professions, on the contrary, have skyrocketed in strength on Earth, and the growth rate of Rangers is the largest. Whether serving as a sniper on the battlefield or assassinating targets in the city, Rangers are intimidating beings with far greater deterrence than other professions. The career potential of Rangers is also great, and there are many directions for further advancement. However, Ji Xingho's choice of a Ranger is not entirely due to employment and potential, but a bigger reason is that the Ranger is very compatible with Wanxiang Xingtong. The professional template for Rangers includes 5 abilities. They are 1000 spiritual skilled hands, flash step, intuitive reflection, precision, and balance. The Wanxiang star pupil can replace the intuitive reflex and precision abilities, and its functions are stronger than these two abilities. In addition, there are 3 effects related to the eyes: eagle eye, infrared vision, and microvision. Combined, it is enough to give the ranger incredible perception ability. As long as you apply 4 Qianling skilled hand, then your career template is close to being formed. As soon as I became a stranger, I mastered 3 abilities and was 2 steps faster than others. Ji Xingho's plan goes beyond that. Next, we need to find a way to earn enough money, purchase cultivation resources and services, and strive to evolve our lives again within 1 or 2 years. We can be promoted to intermediate-level aliens and merge with another alien species. During this period, it is best to obtain another expansion artifact that integrates additional mutants. If everything goes smoothly, you will be able to master 5 abilities when you are a mid-level outsider, your career template is fully formed, and your strength far surpasses that of the same level outsider. Plans are always beautiful. Ji Xingho was somewhat immersed in his imagined beautiful future, to the point where he lost his focus until his phone shook lightly and received a message. At this moment, a female voice also came over. "Mr. Ji, your application has been approved, and you can now claim the alien species." Ji Xingho's spirit lifted and he immediately stood up. "Please follow me." Ji Xingho followed the staff up to the 5th floor and entered one of the clean and quiet rooms, which was the power fusion room of the service center. In order to prevent the counterfeiting or resale of alien species, the Star Realm Department has issued regulations that prohibit any alien species obtained through application from being taken away from the service center and must be integrated on the spot. If you feel that your physical condition is not good, you can also postpone it, but it cannot exceed 1 month. Ji Xingho naturally chose to immediately merge the alien species. The woman in charge of fusing the mutants for Ji Xingho was a doctor in a white coat, around 50 years old, with a calm face. After verifying Ji Xingho's identity again, she whispered, "Please sit down, Mr. Ji doesn't need to be nervous. The mutants will be ready soon." "Okay," Ji Xingho nodded lightly. The smile of this female doctor is very infectious, which makes her mentality more relaxed. Quickly, a staff member came in carrying a metal box and handed it over to the female doctor. She opened the box in front of Ji Xingho and took out a low-temperature refrigerated test tube, which contained a transparent solution, with a light gray substance floating in it. Ji Xingho's eyes lit up, and this was the variant of Qianling's skillful hand. The alien form of Qianling's skilled hand is a tangled root, which has multiple sources, most of which are related to star plants. This small thing is worth 1.6 million Asian dollars. The female doctor used tweezers to pick out the xenograft and gently placed it into another test tube. In the test tube, there is a freshly prepared medicine, and the root-like alien species fall into it, immediately wriggling and struggling like living organisms, like drowning earthworms. Gradually, the shape of the alien species dispersed and became lighter, and after a few minutes, it completely dissolved into the medicine. The female doctor gently shook the test tube and nodded in satisfaction. "Take off your top." Ji Xingho followed the instructions and was not surprised to know that the fusion method of Qianling's skilled hand was injection. The female doctor drew the medication into the syringe and wiped the collarbone area on both sides of Ji Xingho with alcohol cotton. She comforted and said, "It may be a bit painful. You grit your teeth and stick to it. Don't move." "Yes." Ji Xingho nodded solemnly. The female doctor's hand was very stable, with the tip of the needle piercing above Ji Xingho's right clavicle, slanting downwards, and reaching the arm located behind the clavicle through the nerve. Ji Xingho furrowed his brow, which was indeed painful, but compared to the pain of fusing the Wanxiang star pupils last night, it was nothing. He has undergone multiple willpower tests, and the 7th level electric shock pain is even more painful than this. He gritted his teeth and persevered. Half of the medication was injected, and the female doctor immediately pulled out the needle and inserted it into the other side of the clavicle, injecting the remaining half of the medication. "All right," the female doctor smiled and said, "it went smoothly. Wait for half an hour in the observation room, and if you feel any discomfort, report it immediately." Ji Xingho put on his clothes and said, "Thank you, doctor." He sat down in the observation room and received a copy of Precautions for Xenogenesis Fusion on his phone, which included the possible reactions after the fusion of the 1,000-spirit skilled hand, the training method for this ability, and how to recover from fusion failures. In short, it was very detailed and the service was very thoughtful. Soon, Ji Xingho felt a reaction. From my shoulders down to my palms, I started to itch slightly, accompanied by a slight pain, like countless fine needles swimming in my arms, both painful and itchy, and my hands became numb. Ji Xingho is not at all panicked. These are all normal phenomena mentioned in the precautions. Qianling Qio hand is the most important core ability of a ranger. It can make both hands extremely flexible and stable, and the touch on the hands is also more sensitive. Both hands can make complex and subtle movements, and all hand-related skills can be quickly mastered. Through injection, the xenograft integrates into the brachial plexus nerve located in the neck, and then spreads to the ulnar nerve, radial nerve, and median nerve. These three nerve branches, as well as the lower end nerves, govern all movements in the upper limbs of the human body, from the arms to the palms and then to the fingers. Ji Xingho carefully felt the changes in his hands. After a moment, the pain and itching in my arms began to subside, and I felt the presence of my hands again, noticeably more acute than before. He clenched his fist lightly and opened it again, with a very subtle touch coming from his palm. With a casual wave, the air passing through the fingers can sense changes in flow, and each finger is like an independent organ, capable of making fine movements. The tactile sensation on the hands becomes more delicate, and even with closed eyes and only touch, accurate contours of objects can be formed in the brain. The reaction speed of both hands has also significantly increased. Ji Xingho remembered a flashy video he had watched before. Zhaozhuyuan.com, I'll give it a try too. He took out his phone and placed his index finger in the center of the back of the phone. With a slight force, he made the phone rotate on his fingertips, but after 2 or 3 turns, it lost balance and slipped off. I flipped my palm and caught the phone, then tried again. After only trying a dozen times, Ji Xingho mastered the technique and was able to use his index finger to rotate the phone. Every time the phone was about to slide off, he gently flicked his other finger and the phone regained balance. At most, he rotated it for hundreds of times before losing balance. Although the speed is not as good as the videos I have watched, and the number of laps can only exceed 100, it also shows the skill. Amazing! Ji Xingho exclaimed in admiration, truly deserving of outstanding abilities. No wonder it can become the core ability of a ranger. The main weapon of the ranger is bow and arrow, with 70% of his strength focused on shooting. It can be imagined that the skillful hands have greatly improved their archery skills. Not only archery, rangers also equip themselves with melee weapons. Whether it's swords or daggers, their skillful hands are equally beneficial to martial arts. And like many other abilities, Qianlingshu can be upgraded through exercise. Am I considered a successful fusion? Ji Xingho's face showed a smile, and he never doubted whether he could become an outsider. If I master the first ability, then I am an outsider, even though I am only a beginner outsider. Thinking of this, Ji Xingho's heart moved. He lowered his head slightly and looked at the ground, revealing the interface of the Wanxiang star pupils in his field of vision. Sure enough, the information on the interface had changed. Master of the Universe star pupils. Ji Xingho, race. Earthlings, level. Junior alien, ability. 1,000 spiritual skilled hands, level 147th, spiritual energy. 0. Chapter 5. First evolution. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Junior Alien. Although Ji Xingho could confirm the successful fusion on his own, seeing the 4 words, beginner alien, on the interface still brought endless joy to his heart. The 23rd century was an era of outsiders. There is a huge gap between ordinary people and outsiders, and the individual power gap affects human society in all aspects. From culture, economy, and politics to technology, sports, and entertainment, the advantages of outsiders are ubiquitous and almost dominate all human activities. Even if some countries try to downplay the gap between outsiders and ordinary people, emphasize equality before the law, and even restrict the rights of outsiders in some places, with the intention of favoring ordinary people, in reality, ordinary people are always a vulnerable group. Aliens not only possess supernatural abilities, but are also stronger, smarter, and even have a longer lifespan. Ordinary people are naturally lacking in confidence when facing strangers. Even those aliens who have traveled far on the path of evolution are already different species from ordinary people. In the feudal era, there was a saying that, everything is inferior, only reading is high. Nowadays, it is, everything is inferior, only extraordinary people are high. This sentence, although somewhat exaggerated, is not far from each other. Regardless of the country or political system on Earth, the first life goal that everyone sets from being sensible is to become an outsider. Ji Xingho is no exception. Now, I have finally achieved it and become a stranger. Doctor. Someone suddenly shouted in the observation room, and a young man with a pale face shouted loudly, "My head hurts so much, what's going on?" His nostrils were bleeding, and his expression was both painful and panicked. He exclaimed, "I won't fail fusion, will I?" A doctor and 2 nurses rushed to the medical room immediately, shook their head after only observing for a few eyes, and said, "He will be sent to the medical room immediately. His conflict is quite serious and may require first aid." "Did I fail to merge?" the young man heard a voiceover. "Yes," the doctor comforted, "there won't be any life-threatening danger. You can recover within a year at most, and you can also try fusing different species." The young man was helped up by the nurse, with a disheartened expression on his face and a mournful expression, saying, "I am merging with a beast speaker. The next time I merge, I will have to spend more than 2 million Asian dollars to buy a different species. When will I save up so much money?" Ji Xingho and the remaining few people in the observation room looked sympathetic as he was sent to the medical room. Citizens of the Asia-Pacific community have only one free opportunity to access a different species. Fusion failed. If you want to try again next time, you must spend money to purchase a different species. And almost all the core abilities of career templates, at least outstanding abilities, are worth no less than 1 million Asian dollars. Without family support, young people simply cannot afford them. Even with low-interest loans from the government, it is a heavy burden. A fusion failure is a huge blow to the vast majority of ordinary people, resulting in a dual loss of economy and time. Many people have given up on becoming outsiders as a result. Ji Xingho felt fortunate in his heart. He continued to look at his interface, and besides his level becoming a junior alien, his abilities were no longer non-existent. It showed that he had a 1,000 spiritual skilled hand, and included information. Level 147th. First level. Ji Xingho touched his chin, which is easy to understand. His abilities can be upgraded after training. His newly merged Qianling skillful hand is level 1. But what does the following 147th mean? Ability upgrade progress. Ji Xingho couldn't help but guess. Is it like the skills in virtual games, with the increase of proficiency, reaching 47/47ths, Qianling's skilled hand can be promoted to level 2? But there are skill points in the game for upgrading, what do you need to use? His gaze fell on the spiritual energy, still a duck egg, unchanged. I've been pondering for a long time last night. Ji Xingho has never heard of the term, spiritual energy, and I can't find any relevant answers online. The search results related to aliens are either psychic, spiritual, or psychic, and there is no such thing as psychic energy. However, Ji Xingho did not dwell on it for too long. Even if you cannot directly level up, just a progress display is already a great help. There are corresponding methods for upgrading abilities, and various countries have developed a large amount of data for different abilities. There are more than 10 exercise methods for Qianlingshu, which can be downloaded by logging into the official website of the Star Realm Department. However, supernatural exercise is long, tedious, and difficult, often without upgrading after years of exercise, which can be considered painful. So many outsiders can't hold on, their abilities always stay at a very low level, unable to tap into their potential and power. And knowing the progress of the upgrade, one has a clear goal. Every time you exercise your abilities, you will receive positive feedback. Even if your exercise methods are ineffective or incorrect, you can correct them in a timely manner. Knowing that you will definitely upgrade, you can even calculate the accurate date for upgrading and develop an exercise plan. Your abilities will definitely upgrade much faster than other abilities. Ji Xingho is full of confidence in this. Next to the information on the interface, there is also a change in the virtual image of one's own body. The most obvious is the appearance of thin lines inside the arms, extending from the neck along the shoulders and arms, all the way to the palms and fingertips, like a dense neural network. When one focuses on the virtual image of the human body in their arms, the internal neural network will light up and become very prominent. Simultaneously annotated with information. Qianling Skilled Hand, Level 1. Ji Xingho is a bit confused. Isn't the psychic information already displayed next to him? Why do we need to repeatedly label it in the virtual image of the human body? Is there any other use? He carefully observed for a moment and soon made a discovery. The arms where Qianling's skillful hands are located emit faint lines of light, like free energy, spreading within the body's virtual image and gradually spreading throughout the body. Over time, the dots of light spread throughout every corner of the body, although still faint, they were no longer ignored. Star power. Ji Xingho suddenly realized that these light dots represent star power. At the same time, there is an additional line of text on the left side of the interface, located below the level. Star power. 1. It's indeed Xingli. Ji Xingho was happy to guess. All aliens need to exercise their star power, and their importance and priority are still above their abilities, because star power is the primitive driving force of life evolution. Star power is derived from the conversion of ether energy, which is absorbed by the human body and converted into star power, enhancing the body's strength, speed, and endurance, promoting the evolution of life, and extending lifespan. It can be said that star power has opened the door to cultivation, and possessing star power is truly the way to evolution. A stranger's ability can be mediocre or even useless, but star power cannot be weak, because star power is the source of alien power. And using abilities also requires the consumption of star power. Using virtual games as a metaphor, if a power is a skill, then star power is a character attribute, which is both health and magic. Obtaining star power is not difficult, at least for outsiders. As long as you merge any alien species, you can master the star power. Aliens are born in the star realm and inevitably contain ether energy. If the fusion is successful, the body will produce star power. Exercising star power is a compulsory course for outsiders. There are no specific techniques or shortcuts, and there is only one way to exercise star power, which is to consume the star power in the body by constantly exercising, and then wait for recovery. In the process of consumption and recovery, the star power will slowly increase. During the stage from beginner aliens to advanced aliens, star power drifts through the body in an undetectable form of energy, which is relatively weak. On the surface, there is no visible star power, only outsiders can feel it themselves. Therefore, star power has the characteristic of idealism. But star power is a real existence, and when it accumulates to a certain extent, it will allow outsiders to evolve, and after advancing, they can merge another ability. With Earth's technology, it is impossible to detect the existence of stellar forces, let alone precise numerical values. The universal star pupil can display it directly. However, the star power in the interface is only a numerical value and has no units, so Ji Xingho cannot compare with the star power of other aliens. Currently, it can only be used as a reference. A few minutes later, the star force value became 2. Ji Xingho quickly and truly felt the effect of star power. The body seems to be injected with an invisible energy, making its limbs stronger and stronger. Its internal organs are strengthening from the inside out, and there is a slight improvement in hearing, touch, and smell to varying degrees. Every breath becomes long, and every heartbeat becomes powerful. I seem to have endless strength all over my body, my spirit is 100 times stronger. This is the power of aliens. Ji Xingho was still feeling his strengthening when a staff member came over and asked, "Mr. Ji, have you successfully fused?" He had been in the observation room for over half an hour. Yes, Ji Xingho stood up and nodded. Congratulations. The staff gave a formulaic congratulatory greeting and reminded, "Mr. Ji can go home now. In the next few days, your body will be in the initial evolution period, with significant changes. During this period, do not engage in too intense exercise to avoid excessive fatigue, and adapt to the power of others as soon as possible to avoid harm." Ji Xingho nodded, these are all common sense. From an ordinary person to a different person, the first evolution of life has the greatest degree, longest duration, and varies from person to person. Some people take a week or even half a month to complete evolution, while others only take a few hours. The speed of evolution does not affect the degree of reinforcement. Ji Xingho glanced at the interface of the Wanxiang star pupils, and the number of light points in the human body's virtual image was still increasing. The star power value had already increased to 3, and it was expected that his first evolution would last for more than a day. Coming out of the Alien Service Center, Ji Xingho received a notice from the Star Realm Department and officially became a registered alien of the Asia-Pacific community. Due to the use of free mutants and the enjoyment of civic welfare, when the country issues a call in the future, one must unconditionally comply once and fulfill the obligation of citizenship. I hope I don't send a conscription order when I'm too weak. Ji Xingho whispered in secret. He is not resistant to conscription, which is his obligation and natural. In fact, the vast majority of dissidents of the Asian Communist Party will never receive a national conscription order for their entire lives, because more than 90% of dissidents are junior dissidents with insufficient strength, and it is not their turn to rush to the battlefield. One day, even novice aliens will have to be recruited, and it will inevitably be a critical moment for the Asia-Pacific community and even the entire planet. That's definitely not good news. Ji Xingho is not afraid of dedicating himself to the country, but only afraid that his own strength may not be enough, and he sacrificed his life in vain. He walked out of the Tianjin Sports Stadium and heard a loud and enthusiastic shout from afar. Sword Immortal! Sword Immortal! Guanghan Sword Immortal is invincible in the world. The shouting grew louder and louder one after another. Ji Xingho turned his head to look and found hundreds of people gathered on the square outside the gate of the Tianjin Sports Stadium. Most of them were young people, wearing clothes with golden pentagrams printed on them, holding shiny signs in their hands, and following the leader in shouting slogans in unison. Their faces were filled with excitement and enthusiasm. They looked up at the exterior walls of the sports stadium, where a towering and graceful beauty was displayed on a huge screen several tens of meters high. She was wearing a fitted combat uniform, holding a long sword upside down behind her, with a solemn expression. Her beautiful eyes looked straight ahead, as if she had locked onto a combat opponent. Several strange people dressed in combat uniforms surrounded her, with stars and moon shining brightly, attracting the attention of countless people. So it's her. Ji Xingho's heart suddenly changed. The person on the screen is called Zhao Menying, a globally renowned genius and extraordinary person. The people surrounding the sports stadium are all her fans. But it's a bit strange, why did so many people suddenly come? Ji Xingho opened his phone and looked at the news, his face suddenly stunned. Zhao Menying has been promoted to a super extraordinary person, no wonder. What happened half an hour ago has already topped the national hot search list. Looking around the world is also a sensational news. It's outrageous to be promoted to a superhero at the age of 22. Ji Xingho couldn't help but sigh in his heart, with a hint of sourness in his envy. I am also 22 years old and a few months older. I was just feeling proud of being promoted to a junior outsider, but someone else is already a super outsider and has broken multiple records. I am truly a sword immortal, Ji Xingho exclaimed to himself, I cannot accept it. His social media account also follows Zhao Menying, and he usually watches her matches when he has free time, so he knows her very well. At the age of 16, Zhao Menying fused with a different species to become a different person. At 17, she evolved into an intermediate different person. At 18, she was named the youngest swordsmanship master in history by the Martial Arts Association. After being promoted to a senior outsider at the age of 20, Zhao Menying signed a sky-high contract with the Emperor Star Club, entered the Super League, became a competitive outsider, and was trained as the core of the team. Most of the team members in the Super League are superhumans, one rank higher than Zhao Menying. Nevertheless, Zhao Menying still finds it difficult to face opponents on the field. Her career template is swordsman, and with her unparalleled swordsmanship worldwide, few opponents can withstand 1-on-1 duels. However, the battles in the competitive league tend to be more focused on teamwork, and the other members of the Emperor Star team are not outstanding in strength and cannot provide enough help. Therefore, Zhao Menying joined the club for 2 years, and her team did not achieve impressive results, always in the upper middle. But this does not affect Zhao Menying's popularity at all. The reason is very simple. In addition to her ancient and modern talent in swordsmanship, Zhao Menying also possesses an unparalleled appearance that is unparalleled and unparalleled. There are many beautiful women in this era, but there are only a few who can reach the level of Zhao Menying in terms of appearance, figure, and temperament. There are many geniuses in this era, but there are very few who can reach the level of Zhao Menying in terms of star power, superpowers, and martial arts. Beauty is always a scarce resource, and talent is even more so. Both are world-class, concentrated on one person, and that's the explosive effect. Zhao Menying's popularity is unimaginably high, surpassing all cultural and entertainment stars. Even though she is just a high-end outsider, her popularity is comparable to that of a king, and even surpasses it. Her over 1 billion fans are spread around the world, from the Asia-Pacific community to the new Roman Empire, from the southern kingdoms to the Latin Revolutionary Army. Almost everyone knows, her every game is a focal point battle, watched by at least 1 billion people, and the popularity is unmatched by other teams. Emperor Star Club has made a lot of money in the past 2 years. Zhao Menying is a true global idol. She also has many nicknames, the most famous of which is Sword Immortal. There are also Century Tianjiao, Contemporary First Genius, Second Global Goddess, Guanhan Sword Immortal, and so on. Looking for the book garden www.zhaoshuyuan.com is somewhat true to its name, some are exaggerated, and in short, they are all praises. Now, Zhao Menying has been promoted to a super extraordinary position in less than 2 years, and her strength is bound to skyrocket. Even if the Premier League places more emphasis on team fighting, the overall strength of Dixing Club will still soar. In the coming years, Dixing Club will undoubtedly be a hot favorite to win the championship. So these fans and team loyalists were so excited. As soon as the news came out, they gathered at the home stadium of the Emperor Star team to support them, chatting enthusiastically and full of hope for the team's future. Ji Xingho went over and watched for a few minutes. The square outside the Tianjin Sports Stadium was crowded with people, and security guards came out in time to maintain order. However, as more and more fans arrived, the scene was somewhat chaotic. Ji Xingho quickly got on the car and left. He opened the built-in projection screen in the car, and almost every platform, live streaming channel, and social media were discussing Zhao Meniying's promotion to a superhero. One by one, the hosts and commentators were eloquent in front of the camera. Conduct data analysis on competition programs to predict the performance of the Emperor Star team. Strange bloggers speculate how many places Zhao Meniying can advance on the global ladder. Entertainment channel gossip Zhao Meniying's private life. Economic news focuses on the stock price of Dixon Club, and fans either praise Zhao Meniying's talent, or simply crave her appearance and vent their emotions online. On this day, the focus of the world was on Zhao Meniying. No one cared, but a person of the same age in Chang'an named Ji Xingho became an outsider. Even Ji Xingho himself was not particularly excited because he knew he would eventually become an outsider and did not expect any impact from it. Chapter 6. Those with Ambition. You are listening at novelfull.audio. When Ji Xingho returned home, he no longer paid attention to external affairs. On the journey from the Alien Service Center to home, the star power value increased to 5, further strengthening my body. Although it may not appear from the outside and there is no significant change in body shape, within the body, both strength, endurance, and physical fitness have clearly become stronger. Ji Xingho remembered the precautions during evolution and took a break. It's still early. He glanced at the clock and realized that it was only after 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and it was not very interesting to just be idle. You can't exercise too much and get tired, but doing some light training doesn't have any impact, he said, so I opened my phone and purchased some training supplies. 10 minutes later, Ji Xingho received a reminder and saw a silver-white drone flying rapidly from the sky towards the building where his apartment was located. It landed at the predetermined delivery location, gently placed a delivery box on the balcony outside the apartment, and then took off. He went to the balcony and brought in the express box to open, which contained the items he had just ordered. Take a few minutes to unpack: a set of dozens of coins of different sizes, a dozen tennis balls and iron balls, a set of rubber throwing bottles, an electronic keyboard with hundreds of buttons, an outdated input keyboard, several bundles of ropes, and some strange tools. There are all sorts of performances, like props for an acrobatic troupe. These are all things that need to be used in training 1,000 spiritual skilled hands. Ji Xingho picked up a coin and placed it on the back of his fingers. His fingers moved quickly, and the coin immediately rolled between them. After a few seconds, the bouncing coin stopped for a moment. Still not proficient. Ji Xingho practiced for a moment and quickly mastered the technique of flipping a coin. The coin is like a wave dancing between the fingers, moving at a fast speed and looking dazzling, but it just won't fall. Then another coin was added. According to the training method requirements, each hand can roll up to 3 coins of different weights and sizes simultaneously, and cannot collide with each other. Even if Ji Xingho has the assistance of the Wanxiang star pupil, it is not easy to achieve it. He didn't want to achieve it overnight. After training for half an hour, he changed to a different sport, picked up tennis balls one by one and threw them into the air. After reaching 10 tennis balls, he stabilized for a while and added rubber bottle throwing, feeling a bit flustered. From the afternoon until late at night, Ji Xingho practiced several events back and forth several times. I have become proficient in flipping coins, throwing balls, playing the piano at lightning speed, typing, rope skills, and dismantling puzzle locks. He feels like he's making rapid progress. Before going to bed, Ji Xingho opened the information interface and glanced at it. His star power had increased to 28. The progress of Qianling Qiaoshu is still 147th. Upgrading abilities is indeed very difficult. Ji Xingho couldn't help but sigh, but he didn't give up at all and quickly fell asleep. Wake up the next day. Ji Xingho realized that his body had strengthened slightly compared to last night, but the magnitude was not as great as yesterday, and the strengthening speed had noticeably slowed down. The star power value reached 41, and the growth also slowed down. My first evolution period should end today. Ji Xingho woke up to wash up, eat, and then began today's ability training. Using abilities also requires the consumption of star power. Different abilities consume different amounts of star power, and Qianlingshu is a permanent passive ability that belongs to the category with the least energy consumption. Ji Xingho trained for 7 or 8 hours yesterday and has been using Qianling's skilled hands. However, the consumption of star power is not much, not even 1/3. Moreover, the star power consumed during psychic training, even if restored, has little effect on the growth of star power. Star power needs to be combined with physical exercise, and growth is the fastest. So, superpower training and star power cultivation usually need to be conducted separately, which creates a contradiction in time allocation, making it difficult for outsiders to balance and making choices. Either focus on star power cultivation or focus on special ability training. Ji Xingho doesn't have this worry for the time being. He focuses solely on practicing Qianling's skillful hands, but enjoys the boring training and forgets the passage of time. Every few minutes, he opens the interface and takes a glance. The day passed quickly. After dinner, Ji Xingho started training again and finally stopped at around 9 p.m. In the interface of Wanxiang Xingtong, the information of Qianling Qiaoshu has been updated. Ability: 1000 Spiritual Hands, Level 1-47, finally. Ji Xingho took a breath and silently calculated, I have been training for a full 20 hours from yesterday until now, and the progress of Qianling Qiaoshu has only increased by 1 point. Assuming the difficulty of growth remains unchanged, it will take 940 hours to reach level 2. If I put all my effort into it, besides sleeping and eating, I have 16 hours a day, 8 hours to cultivate star power, and 8 hours to train abilities, then it will take 120 days to elevate Qianlingshu to level 2. After doing this calculation, Ji Xingho's eyes lit up. Too fast. The higher the level of the ability, the more difficult it is to upgrade. Qianlingshu is an excellent ability that can be promoted to level 2 in 4 months, which is definitely very fast. You should know that most rangers' skilled hands remain at level 1 for their entire lives. Generally, only rangers and skilled hands who have been promoted to intermediate or even advanced aliens will be promoted to level 2, and their average time is about 3 years. 4 months compared to 3 years, the efficiency difference is 9 times. Ji Xingho himself was shocked. All along, Ji Xingho has a clear understanding of himself, with innate willpower surpassing the vast majority of people, over 99% of his peers. However, even if they squeeze into the top 0.1%, they can still be considered first class, not the top group of geniuses. Because this 0.1% of people is also a huge number. And now, Ji Xingho seems to see a towering road emerging in front of him, all the way smooth until the end of life evolution. All of this stems from the universal star pupil. In the past 2 days, Ji Xingho's feelings have been particularly clear. The function of the Wanxiang star eyes is not limited to the eyes. It deeply controls the body through self-awareness, perceives external changes, and undergoes earth-shattering transformations from the inside out. A very obvious point. When practicing Qianling's skillful hands, the hands are extremely precise and stable, and the force is meticulous, so the progress is particularly fast, and almost the entire process is effective training. This is by no means the effect of a normal Qianling skillful hand, but rather the effect of the Wanxiang star pupil. Not to mention, Wanxiang star eyes can also see the progress of upgrades, allowing themselves to receive positive feedback during training and always maintain high enthusiasm and focus. Unfortunately, Ji Xingho looked regretful. The Wanxiang star pupil is incomplete, and the incomplete part is the core part. The displayed effect may not be 1/1000th of its total power. If the Wanxiang star pupil is complete, I dare not think. Ji Xingho shook his head, his gaze fixed on the star power value on the interface. It had already risen to 53 hours ago, and then it remained unchanged. The first evolution is over. Sure enough, as expected by myself, this evolution period will take about 24 hours. However, Ji Xingho is a bit confused. Is the star power of a beginner alien only 53? The strength of star power has always been vague and subjective. Whether it is the ADC or research departments of various countries, there is no standard to measure the amount of star power possessed by different levels of aliens. The star force value displayed by the Wanxiang star pupil surprisingly has no units, like a dimensionless one. Ji Xingho felt quite helpless and could only set aside this issue. He felt the surging force inside his body, and as evolution was completed, his physical state also stabilized, without the uncertainty of constantly changing. I don't know what level of strength I am currently at. Ji Xingho will start warming up soon. The physical fitness of novice aliens is much stronger than that of ordinary people, even warming up very quickly, and their bodies enter a state in less than 2 minutes. There is a complete set of fitness equipment in the training room of the apartment. Ji Xingho lay down on the inclined bench and did a few push-ups. For each set, he increased the weight of the barbell, breaking through from 130 kilograms to 200 kilograms all the way, with some extra strength. Finally, his weight of the bench press reached 220 kilograms, and he pushed it 10 times in one breath, just exhausted. The horizontal push has increased by 90 kilograms. Ji Xingho is very satisfied. This weight was quite astonishing at the beginning of the 21st century, when there were no exceptional individuals. The most talented Hercules did unarmed push, with a record of 355 kilograms, and could only push once. He rested for a while, then did deep squats and hard pulls. The weights are 278 kilograms and 303 kilograms respectively, plus the weight of the horizontal push, the total is 801 kilograms. In less than 2 days, the strength score increased by nearly 300 kilograms, but there was no change in body shape and weight, completely violating the laws of human physiological structure. This is the strength of strangers. Qianlin Qiu's hand has no significant increase in strength. As Ji Xingyan looked at his symmetrical figure in the mirror, he thought to himself, if it were a giant general alien, integrating the first core ability, giant transformation, the 3 strength scores should be able to easily break through 1,000 kilograms, reaching 1,200 kilograms is not surprising. He suppressed his chaotic thoughts and said, evolution is complete, and now I can practice star power. Take a look at the rate of star power growth. The first step in star power cultivation is consumption, which should be combined with physical training to achieve the highest efficiency. I have done several sets of actions before, and I have already consumed a lot of star power. The interface shows that it is currently 45. Ji Xingho jumped onto the treadmill and ran at full speed, running 10,000 meters in just 19 minutes, an improvement of 10 minutes from before. He ran for half an hour and the aerobic exercise ended. Then it switched to anaerobic exercise, barbells, dumbbells, push-ups, squats, and hard pulls, all rotating according to their maximum weight, one group after another. Star power gradually decreased, and after 20 minutes of strength training, star power bottomed out. Ji Xingho's physical fitness is also just depleted. Who? He sat down panting heavily, sweating profusely, as if he had been pulled out of the water, his clothes soaking wet. I'm so tired. Ji Xingho didn't even want to move a finger. But I still opened the interface of the Wanxiang star, stared closely at the line of star power, and noted the current time point. Soon, as the physical strength recovered, the star power also began to rise. When the star power recovered to 53, it was already 1 o'clock in the morning. 140 minutes. Ji Xingho calculated the time and said, my star power is fully restored, it will take 140 minutes, which is longer than expected. My physical strength has completely recovered. But you cannot immediately exercise with full force again, otherwise excessive fatigue can cause damage to the body's muscles and bones. You need to rest for at least 4 hours. That is to say, even without training for abilities, I can only exercise up to 3 times a day. Ji Xinghe has an active mindset. However, during the rest period of these 3 exercises, it is possible to train Qianling's skilled hands. It does not consume much star power and has a low impact on star power recovery. He quickly made an exercise plan for himself. Practice Xingli 3 times a day, with the exercise process and rest time, lasting 5 hours each time. After 2 hours of each break, train Qianling's skilled hands 3 times a day for a total of 6 hours of ability practice. Try to schedule meals and restrooms during rest time as much as possible. Do as you please. The next morning at 6:30 a.m., Ji Xinghe woke up and started the day's cultivation according to the plan at exactly 7 o'clock. At noon, he completed today's first exercise cycle. At 5 p.m., the second one was completed. Take an hour to eat and rest. Continue at 6 p.m. and complete the entire day's cultivation plan at 11 p.m. Then I lay in bed to relax, read the news for a while, wandered around the internet a few times, and fell asleep at exactly 12 o'clock. Ji Xinghe was immersed in a tedious training, tirelessly staying at home, as if forgetting the passage of time. 3 days later. Ability. 1,000 spiritual hands, 3/47. The progress of Qianling's skilled hand has increased slightly. Ji Xinghe is very happy about this. Because this growth only lasted for more than 19 hours of training, it indicates that the upgrade of Qianling's skilled hands will not increase the difficulty, but instead, as one becomes more proficient in training, the time it takes is shorter. 1 week later. Ability. 1,000 spiritual skilled hands, 4/47. Star power. 54. Finally. Ji Xinghe breathed a sigh. For 7 whole days, more than 20 times my star power was exhausted, and my whole body was exhausted. The physical exhaustion began to affect my psychological state, and my mind became somewhat numb. Finally, my star power increased a bit. The change in star force from 53 to 54 is actually not significant. If it weren't for the display of information on the Universal Star Pupil interface, it would be difficult to detect an increase in star power. Ji Xinghe calculated that if he increases his star power by an average of 1 point per week and cultivates for a whole year, his star power can almost exactly double. I don't know what is the maximum star power limit for beginner aliens. How much star power will be needed for the next evolution? Ji Xinghe doesn't have much clue. He sat down in front of the desk, a light and shadow projected from the desk, forming a clear display screen in front of him, and turned on the search engine. The Earth has entered the planetary era for nearly 2 centuries. The Internet is filled with information on alien cultivation of star power, such as various teaching, analysis, research on abilities, exploration of career templates, videos, and papers. The vast amount of data is like a sea, and every day it is increasing in scale. Ji Xinghe only searches for content related to beginner aliens. A few hours later. After consulting many materials and videos, he roughly came up with a concept. Generally speaking, there is not much difference in strength between novice aliens. Both are beginner aliens, with the same career template and abilities. If a newly promoted beginner alien and a near re-evolved beginner alien have similar combat experience and martial arts level, there will not be a crushing gap when they fight each other. The biggest advantage of the latter is still stronger star power and longer-lasting physical fitness. The star power will not differ by more than twice. If we consider the differences in career templates, some professions may have stronger star power, such as martial arts master, flame crazy, and halo fighter. Their star power is significantly higher than other professions. But rangers are not included, their star power is at an average level. Double the star power. As long as I cultivate for a year, my star power can double, and I can almost evolve again to become an intermediate alien. The promotion speed is not much slower than any genius. Ji Xing's eyes are filled with anticipation. He suddenly remembered Zhao Menying, who had been the hottest person lately. This sword immortal had been promoted from a beginner to an intermediate level for over a year. You can do it, and I can do it too. Ji Xingho is full of confidence in this. However, he did not immediately continue his cultivation, but instead changed into clean clothes and walked out of his home that he had not left for a week. Chapter 7. Archery. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. This time going out, Ji Xingho chose to walk. The urban planning of Chang'an is extremely excellent, completely achieving the separation of people and vehicles. Most cars are driven on elevated superconducting highways, and there are very few vehicles on the ground. The separately designed ground roads are also closed, occupying only a small area. Therefore, the open space between buildings has been transformed into a continuous urban park, planted with a large number of trees, flowers, and grass, with a high degree of greening in a beautiful environment. However, the population of Chang'an is too large. Qishan district is relatively remote, and it is now around 2 p.m. However, as Ji Xingho walks along the park trail, there are many pedestrians coming and going. Some leisurely strolled and chatted with each other, while others hurriedly glided past wearing power shoes. There are also couples sitting in a remote flower garden, admiring each other. There are more people like Ji Xingho who walk alone. He has lived in this community for a few years and occasionally nods to acquaintances on the way. But that's all there is to it. Ji Xingho doesn't know them, and the other person doesn't know Ji Xingho either, which is both polite and distant. 10 minutes later. Ji Xingho came to a stadium with more than 10 floors high. The sign outside the wall said, Qishan Wudong Archery Hall. I'm here. He sent a message at the door. Quickly, a tall and thin young man with long hair ran out of the archery hall and exclaimed in surprise, Spark. I'm even joking with you about it, it's really here. Cloud C. Ji Xingho also laughed, punched the other person, and then hugged and let go. Lu Yunhai is his classmate and one of the best friends in college. He met almost every day before graduation. On that graduation trip, Lu Yunhai and his girlfriend also went together. Are you okay now? Lu Yunhai asked with concern. He had heard from Ji Xingho before that he often suffered from insomnia after returning from travel. It's already resolved, Ji Xingho said with a somewhat mysterious smile. My current state cannot be better. Oh. Lu Yunhai took a step back and carefully observed two eyes. At first, he had some doubts, but then he was surprised and said, Have you become a stranger? Ji Xingho nodded. Damn it. Lu Yunhai felt normal after being surprised, his face full of envy, and he slammed Ji Xingho's shoulder hard. I knew you would definitely become an outsider. You should have taken this step a few years ago, otherwise you wouldn't have let Wu Qifeng be arrogant until graduation. Wu Qifeng is also a classmate of the two, both friends and in a competitive relationship. However, Wu Qifeng's talent is very good. In his first year of college, he successfully integrated different races, and his career template is still a strong, gravity warrior. During his college years, he made a name for himself in his class. Which career template did you choose? Lu Yunhai asked curiously. Rangers. How can you be a ranger? Lu Yunhai was stunned for a moment. He is very familiar with Ji Xingho, and he has never heard Ji Xingho mention choosing a ranger before, which is far from what he expected. Isn't your goal the titanium cobalt dragon man? Why did you give up? Lu Yunhai couldn't help but shake his head. You wouldn't have been rejected for applying for an over-limit ability, would that be a pity? Titanosaurus is a unique profession in the Asia-Pacific community, with a rare population and exceptional abilities. It is one of the top career templates in the world. Any Titanosaurus will at least be a superhero in the future. Both in terms of strength and potential, as well as in terms of power and status, the Titanium Cobalt Dragon people far surpass the Rangers, and there is a huge difference between the two. I didn't apply, I just changed the plan. Ji Xingho didn't explain too much. Lu Yunhai saw that he didn't want to say much and didn't delve deeply into his wit. He smiled and said, "You're also quite good as a ranger, don't worry about employment." "No wonder you came to find me," he said with a sudden realization on his face. "You work at the archery hall, who should I look for instead of you?" Ji Xingho spread his hand. The main weapon of a ranger is a bow and arrow. A ranger in the early stages, at least before being promoted to a superhero, has 70% of his strength in archery. Archery is not only necessary to master, but also requires diligent practice. Lu Yunhai has been practicing archery since childhood and is skilled in archery. In college, he was the vice president of the archery club. In his sophomore year, Lu Yunhai attempted to merge different races and become a hunter. This profession was very similar to that of a ranger, with bows and arrows as the main weapons and a war pet, which can be understood as a hunter. Unfortunately, the integration of Lu Yunhai failed. However, Lu Yunhai did not give up. After recovering, he started working part-time outside of school, saving money to purchase the second fusion of the alien species, and has been working until now. After graduation, Lu Yunhai officially became a coach at the archery hall. Ji Xingho wanted to learn archery, so he immediately thought of his good friend, who was very close to home. Of course, he wanted to increase Lu Yunhai's performance. Upon hearing that he wanted to learn archery, Lu Yunhai looked proud. "You didn't want to join the club before, but now you have to pay me to learn archery. Do you regret it?" He. Ji Xingho suddenly felt angry. "You want to give me a discount," he said. Okay, I'll give you the best price." Lu Yunhai mocked enough and felt relieved. "Follow me." He entered the archery hall with Ji Xingho. Along the way, when encountering colleagues and students, many people would call Lu Yunhai Coach Lu, indicating that he holds a considerable position in the archery hall. "Are you doing well?" Ji Xingho joked. "That's for sure." Lu Yunhai boasted, "Although I'm not a stranger yet, I'm only skilled in archery. I can rank in the top 5 in our museum, and even compete with the top 3. Only the curator can stabilize me." Ji Xingho was a little curious. "The curator is very impressive." "Definitely." Lu Yunhai looked admiring. "Our curator, like you, is also a ranger, but he is a super outsider. There are countless people who want to learn archery from him, and many of them are outsiders. Each class costs tens of thousands of Asian yuan, and every time the schedule is released, they are snatched away." Ji Xingho nodded. No matter what job a superhero does, their income is outrageously high. According to public data from the Star Realm Department, the number of superhumans in the Asia-Pacific community exceeded 150,000 last year, while there are 5.6 billion people nationwide. The low proportion of superhumans indicates their scarcity and value. It's not difficult for any superhero to make money. Lu Yunhai quickly registered a membership for Ji Xingho and said, "Different types of bows have different courses and prices. Which one do you want to learn, traditional bow, light bow, or composite bow?" "Composite bow." Ji Xingho didn't think much before giving an answer, and didn't even inquire about the price difference. Lu Yunhai nodded without any surprise. This is also the choice of most rangers, for the simple reason that composite bows have the greatest power, fastest arrow speed, and highest accuracy. Although traditional bows and light bows have some advantages, and composite bows themselves have disadvantages, they are difficult to compensate for the huge power gap. In fact, there is also a type of competitive reverse bow, which is too many accessories, inconvenient to carry, difficult to maintain, and too delicate and cumbersome to be practical in combat, so there is almost no choice for rangers. Generally, only enthusiasts will use it in sports competitions, which is very niche. And the light bow is a type of competitive retroflex bow that has removed most of its accessories. Some traditional bows also belong to the category of curved bows. The beginner course of composite bow has 20 lessons, 1 lesson per day, and the total fee is 6,000 Asian yuan. Lu Yunhai lowered his voice and said, "I'll give you a 30% discount." "Okay, thank you very much." Ji Xingho knew that even if there were promotional activities at the archery hall, it was impossible for the price to be reduced to 30%, otherwise it would have been a loss long ago. It should have been Lu Yunhai who provided some subsidies himself. He silently recorded this favor. "What's so polite between us? You said thank you to me," Lu Yunhai murmured in dissatisfaction, registered the course for Ji Xingho, paid the fee, and said, "Let's go, get started now." This venue has more than 10 floors, all of which belong to the archery hall, and each floor is a wide shooting range. The two of them arrived at the 3rd level, and most of the shooting positions in the range were occupied. Some practice on their own, while others have coaches in class. Lu Yunhai selected a shooting spot and asked, "I'll go get the bow. Do you want to hunt the bow or shoot it accurately?" Composite bows are also subdivided into 2 types. There is no difference in structure between hunting bow and shooting accurate bow. Hunting bows have a smaller body, larger weight, and stronger power in complex outdoor environments such as forests and tunnels. However, the portability requirement for accurate arches is relatively low, making them suitable for use in open areas. The bow body is larger, and the shooting target is usually far away. Therefore, in order to improve accuracy, the weight may be slightly reduced. Of course, most of the techniques for the 2 types of composite bows are common, and there are also many comprehensive bow types on the market that cater to both purposes. Ji Xingho has some understanding of the basic knowledge of archery. "I want a hunting bow." Lu Yunhai asked again, "What is the weight?" 70 kilograms, Ji Xingho estimated before returning. The pound count is the amount of force required to pull a bow, and the higher the pound count, the greater the power. However, as early as over a century ago, the unit of pounds was changed to the more commonly used kilogram. Converting 70 kilograms to previous pounds is approximately 155 pounds. Damn it! Lu Yunhai looked envious and cursed profusely. This pound composite hunting bow takes an average person several years to practice before they can pull it open, and their body needs to be very strong. As a beginner, Ji Xingho used such a large pound bow to practice. He has been practicing archery for many years and usually only weighs 60 kilograms. Being different is satisfying. Lu Yunhai often comes into contact with strange people in the archery hall and has become accustomed to it. He quickly went to get a composite bow and said, "Let me adjust the parameters first." To achieve optimal performance, a bow must match the shooter's physique. Firstly, it's about pulling distance. Ji Xingho is 1.8 meters tall, but his arm span is 198 centimeters. According to the formula, his pulling distance is 79 centimeters, which is the most comfortable and perfect distance between the archer and the hooker when fully pulling a bow. Continuing to adjust the weight and aiming parameters, Lu Yunhai handed the bow to Ji Xingho and said, "Can you try to close it?" Ji Xingho takes over. The wheelbase of this composite hunting bow is 85 centimeters. The bow handle is made of aluminum alloy material, a common hollow structure, and the bow pieces are made of carbon fiber composite material. The whole bow is very light to handle, less than 3 kilograms, and it doesn't feel much weight when held with one's own strength. Although the bow used by the ranger may give up many accessories. However, this composite bow still retains the sight, which is a 5-needle sight, as well as a drop arrow table, shock absorber, stop rod, and splitter. These are small and not easily damaged accessories, which are very helpful for auxiliary shooting. When you were in your junior year, you participated in activities at an archery club. Do you remember the basic archery skills? Asked Lu Yunhai. Of course. Ji Xingho nodded. Shoot an arrow and show me. Lu Yunhai pointed to the target on the opposite side. Ji Xingho leaned sideways towards the target, picked up a training arrow and placed it on the bow. He did not use a spreader, and the arrow was also placed on the right arrow stand of the bow handle. He used Mongolian archery, using his thumb to hook the bow string and his index finger to clasp his thumb, looking at the target 30 meters away. All of these designs that violate conventional archery methods are for one purpose, which is practical combat. Shoot the most lethal arrow at the fastest speed and frequency possible. Ji Xingho's gaze locked on the target, with 10 yellow bull's eye rings with a diameter of 8 centimeters at a distance of 30 meters. In his eyes, it was as close as a stone's throw and within reach. He had an intuition in his mind that he could easily hit the desired position. The universal star pupil is in effect, more precise than precision. He took a light breath. Then, with the left hand pushing the bow and the right hand exerting force to pull open the bowstring, a weight of 70 kilograms was not particularly difficult to reach in the hand, and it went smoothly. A composite bow has one bow string and two bow cables, which are synchronously driven by force when pulled. When pulled close to the full string, the eccentric pulleys at both ends of the bow body work, reducing the force required to maintain the bow by 80%, making it easier and more stable for both hands. The peephole installed on the bowstring was pulled up to the right eye, and the gaze passed through the hole on the tip of the second aiming needle of the sight, as well as the distant bullseye, forming a straight line at 3 points. In fact, the sight and peephole were just decorations in the eyes of Ji Xingho. Without these auxiliary accessories, he could still shoot accurately. Pop. A soft sound. Ji Xingho let go and shot the arrow, which turned into a black line and quickly penetrated deeply into the target. 10 rings. Lu Yunhai shouted out the number of rings, his eyes incredulous. He was well aware that Ji Xingho had touched the bow at most a few times before, and his knowledge about archery was also some superficial knowledge he had gained from himself. The shooting process of this arrow is very smooth, but there are many mistakes, making it a typical beginner. But it just hit, and it's 10 rings. Dog shit luck. Lu Yunhai was dissatisfied. You shoot another arrow. Ji Xingho smiled and picked up the second training arrow. He turned sideways, arched, hooked, pushed the bow, lowered his shoulders, aligned, pulled the strings, leaned in, aimed, spread, and collected the momentum, all in one go. Pop, 10 rings. Before waiting for Lu Yunhai to speak, he went to Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com and fired 3 more arrows in a row. Qianling's skillful hands accelerated the shooting motion, one faster than the other. 10 rings. 10 rings. 10 rings. Lu Yunhai was dumbfounded, looking at the 5 arrows stuck in the bullseye, but couldn't help but believe that Ji Xingho had fired 5 consecutive 10 rings. He worked at the archery hall for several years and taught several beginners who had just become rangers, but none of them were as accurate as Ji Xingho, who had not practiced yet. Isn't your first fusion ability precise? Lu Yunhai was a bit skeptical. The composition and fusion order of professional template abilities are not fixed. Generally speaking, the first thing to merge is definitely the core ability. Although it is a very rare situation, there are also some outsiders who choose to integrate non-core abilities due to personal preferences or other reasons. I am a skilled shooter. Ji Xingho pressed the arrow of an arrow against his index finger to maintain balance and never fall, smiling and saying, "Can't I be a natural shooter with the world's top shooting talent? Why didn't you before?" Lu Yunhai's words came to a halt halfway through. His proudest professional ability was suddenly challenged by his friend, who instinctively wanted to refute it. However, upon closer examination, he could only recognize reality and said sternly, "There is indeed a possibility." "All right, you're amazing. It seems that you have a certain reason to choose a ranger." But this is just a 30-meter target, and it's a fixed target. You're still far from being a top scorer. There is still a lot to learn about archery and composite bows, said Lu Yunhai with the confidence that a coach should have. Ji Xingho nodded and humbly said, "Please ask Coach Lu for guidance." Chapter 8. Zero Issue and Zero Middle. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. A class at the archery hall lasts for 1 hour. After finishing the first class, Lu Yunhai felt a bit overwhelmed and almost couldn't maintain his confidence as an archery coach. He began to doubt whether what he had learned for many years was correct. In this hour, Ji Xingho has made great progress. But it can also be said that there has been no progress. Great progress refers to the fact that Ji Xingho's archery movements have been modified to become very standard. From posture, shooting steps to power techniques, as long as Lu Yunhai teaches it once, he can master it by practicing it a few times himself, and will never make mistakes again. His archery speed has also improved slightly. There was no progress because during the process of correction and practice, Ji Xingho fired every arrow with 10 rings. Regardless of whether his movements were wrong or correct, he always hit the bull's eye. What is the first target of archery? It's a hit. Since you can hit the bullseye every time and hit 100 shots, it doesn't matter whether the shooting action is standard. Even meaningless. For ordinary people, incorrect archery movements and power techniques may cause some physical damage over time. But for rangers, the impact is minimal. If I had known earlier, I wouldn't have enrolled you in class, Lu Yunhai regretted a bit. At most, you only need to take 2 or 3 classes to fully master archery skills. The rest is to practice on your own, form muscle memory, make archery faster and faster, increase distance, and increase the weight of the bow. He just needs to take some time to teach the content of a few classes privately, and he can also save a registration fee. Ji Xingho understood what Lu Yunhai meant and smiled, "It's okay. Anyway, I also use the archery venue as if I had paid the usage fee. You haven't worked yet, if you can save, save." Lu Yunhai shook his head. Ji Xingho fell silent for a moment. His economy is indeed not abundant, but there is no place for him to use a lot of money at the moment. The welfare of citizens in the Asia-Pacific community is very good. For unemployed citizens, regardless of whether they are of age, a monthly assistance fund is issued, and there are some additional benefits during holidays and festivals, which have no duration and continue until their death. The amount of assistance is not high, usually around 3,000 Asian yuan. If citizens have made contributions to society and the country, the subsidy will increase even more, but the vast majority of people can only receive the lowest level. 3,000 Asian yuan is enough for a person to maintain their daily needs, save some, and have some surplus every month. Of course, this money is only enough for basic living, without going hungry or camping on the streets. But it doesn't have much taste either. If you want to live a more nourishing life, satisfy your interests, pursue your life ideals, and also want to be colorful and luxurious, then you must work hard and strive for it yourself. However, there are also many people with low material desires who choose not to work for life and rely on government support for their entire lives. Therefore, the unemployment rate of the Asia-Pacific community has never been lower than 35%. Fortunately, with advanced technology, productivity has increased several times compared to 2 centuries ago, and resources are abundant. Even if there are several billion more people to support, the Communist Party of Asia government can still afford it. The proportion of people who do not support work in the financial expenditure of the Asia-Pacific community has never been high. Ji Xingho has been receiving assistance since birth and has not been spending money recklessly. His biggest monthly expenses are rent and food. The remaining money has been saved, but not much. At present, the deposit is only over 70,000 Asian dollars. If it were in the past, this money would definitely be enough, but now that I have become an outsider and want to go faster and further on the path of life evolution, I must consider how to make money. The cultivation of outsiders is very expensive, it can be said to be burning money. Heterologous purchases are just the most basic. Having money can also hire a whole cultivation team to serve oneself. In the team, there are the chief coach, martial arts coach, superpower coach, and several accompanying trainers, a professional chef responsible for diet, a pharmacist assisting in cultivation, a physical therapy recovery specialist after training, a private doctor, and a data analyst. They constantly collect body information from strangers, customize cultivation plans, optimize cultivation efficiency, and so on. In addition, many large companies have developed targeted cultivation methods, large equipment, and more advanced and expensive auxiliary methods. The purchase of weapons and equipment is also a significant expense. Alien cultivation is like a bottomless pit, even if there are hundreds of millions, throwing them into it may not splash much water. In short, outsiders must have money. The reverse can also be true, only with money can one become a powerful outsider. Actually, Ji Xingho has recently considered how to make money. For example, using one's identity as an outsider to apply for a high-paying job, but no matter how high the salary of a junior outsider is, it is impossible to earn a lot of money in a short period of time. You keep practicing, I'm going to another class. Lu Yunhai saw that Ji Xingho didn't speak and patted his shoulder. Don't rush to leave later. Let's have dinner together tonight. I'll treat you. Okay. Ji Xingho watched his good friend leave, set aside distractions, and raised his composite bow to continue shooting arrows. After the training, the two of them left the archery hall together. I had a sumptuous dinner at a nearby restaurant and also drank a few bottles of wine. Although the two have just graduated less than a month ago, they still have some inexplicable emotions when they truly leave campus and enter society. Ji Xingho and Lu Yunhai's alma mater is Fengming Language University, a university mainly focused on language majors. In addition to teaching languages from various countries around the world, it also offers Star Realm language courses. Its comprehensive strength is far from top universities and can only be considered a second-rate university in China. In fact, Star Language is the flagship major of Fengming University. The planetary realm is vast and boundless, and there are currently more than 10 civilization races that humans have explored and encountered, almost all of which have different languages. Ji Xingho's major is Sinurak language. This is one of the mainstream common languages of the human race in the Star Realm, and I also took minor courses in Heavenly Language and Dragon Language. I have mastered a total of 3 Star Realm languages, and my grades are considered quite excellent. In contrast, Lu Yunhai's part-time job took up too much time, his studies were in a mess, he often failed classes, and he almost missed graduation. Now let's go back to school and take a look. Lu Yunhai's wine was strong and he pulled Ji Xingho away. Fengming University is located in Qishan district, very close, so Ji Xingho has been living here for the past few years. He did not stop Lu Yunhai. However, at the school gate, when the evening breeze blew, Lu Yunhai's drunkenness cleared up. Looking at the familiar school gate, both of them laughed. Haha. Lu Yunhai smiled awkwardly, I've been under a lot of work pressure lately. After drinking, I lose my composure and make you laugh. If you have anything to do, just tell me and don't hold it back. Ji Xingho had already noticed. Obviously, Lu Yunhai's pressure is not only from work, but also from emotional issues. In the past few hours, Lu Yunhai has never mentioned his girlfriend. His girlfriend is also a classmate, but there is still 1 year left before graduation. Let's go and take a walk around the school. Ji Xingho led the way into the school gate and strolled on the school playground. It's summer vacation now, but there are many people staying at school. Looking at the student couples passing by, Lu Yunhai was moved by the scenery and finally said, I've already broken up with her. What's the reason? Ji Xingho was a bit strange. When he graduated from a trip before, Lu Yunhai and his girlfriend were still like paint and glue, looking like they were rushing to get married. Why else could it be that she moved on to another relationship? Lu Yunhai sneered at herself. When she returned from winter vacation at the beginning of the year, she told me that someone in her hometown was pursuing her and she was still a stranger. She firmly refused the other person. Last week, when she returned home, she suddenly messaged me and broke up. Ji Xingho sighed, this kind of thing is too common. The gap between ordinary people and outsiders is reflected in various aspects of society, especially in choosing a spouse, where outsiders have overwhelming advantages. Between ordinary people and outsiders, most people will make the same choice. Your love and my wish are beyond reproach. Nevertheless, when this situation happens to oneself, especially when one is the one who has been abandoned, anyone will feel frustrated. Is she just not optimistic about me? Lu Yunhai was somewhat unwilling. Ji Xingho doesn't know how to answer. Previous data statistics have shown that the success rate of the first fusion of different species is the highest, while the success rate of the second fusion plummeted by half. The further down, the more likely it is to fail. By the third and fourth time, hope was basically hopeless. And Lu Yunhai has already failed once. The second time I tried, I had to spend money to buy a different species myself. Lu Yunhai's family conditions were average and he couldn't provide much support, so he had to rely on himself. His monthly salary at the archery hall is tens of thousands, which is already a good job, but he is still far from saving enough money. Let's work hard. Ji Xingho could only comfort him by saying, we are still young now, so let's put aside our emotional matters. Becoming a stranger is more important than being a woman. Lu Yunhai nodded heavily. Actually, I also saw it through. Breaking up is acceptable, he reluctantly regained his usual confidence. I just didn't expect her to become so fast. On the day before returning home, he even made an appointment with me for summer vacation to meet her parents, and it's hard to see that she has changed her mind. Women. Ji Xingho shook his head, you're not a mind hacker, how could you possibly guess her thoughts? That's right. Lu Yunhai fell silent. After a moment, he suddenly looked serious and said, sooner or later, I will make her regret it. The two of them walked around the school and went home separately after coming out. Afterwards, Ji Xingho adjusted his cultivation plan. Every afternoon, I set aside 2 hours to go to the archery hall for classes and practice archery. Lu Yunhai completed the basic archery course for Ji Xingho in 3 days, and then upgraded to an advanced course at the same cost. In total, he only taught him archery knowledge in 10 days. The remaining time is for practice. Ji Xingho's archery movements and power techniques have become increasingly proficient in practice, and the weight of the composite bow has gradually increased, stabilizing at 83 kilograms, 184 pounds. The shooting distance has also increased, from a 30-meter target to a 100-meter target. A fixed target within 100 meters, firing 100 shots and hitting 10 arrows. However, when it comes to moving targets and random targets, only within 50 meters can the arrow hit the center of the target. Above 50 meters, the farther the distance, the lower the number of rings. Nevertheless, Lu Yunhai was still shocked. He practiced archery for almost 10 years, but was caught up by Ji Xingho in 10 days and surpassed him. At the end of the archery training that day, Lu Yunhai called out to Ji Xingho, handed over a black package, and said, Xingho, take it. What is it? Ji Xingho guessed it roughly as soon as he got started. Upon opening it, there is a silver-gray composite hunting bow inside, accompanied by dozens of training arrows. Your 22nd birthday is approaching, and it may be the most important birthday in your life. I don't have anything good either. This E-phone is one of the composite bows I have collected, and I will give it to you as a birthday gift. Lu Yunhai smiled and said, don't be polite to me. If you become prosperous in the future, don't forget to give me a hand. Ji Xingho originally intended to refuse, but upon hearing his words, he could only nod and say, okay, then I'll accept it. Yifeng is a well-known hunting bow brand. According to ADC's evaluation criteria, this composite hunting bow belongs to the boutique star category, using the best materials and manufacturing techniques currently available, and is priced at approximately 20,000 Asian yuan. Lu Yunhai looked very happy when he saw Ji Xingho accept the gift. Every good archer should have their own good bow, he said of archery theory. You usually use a bow from the museum, and you have to adjust the parameters every time you come. The performance is also mediocre, and you cannot fully unleash your abilities. Although this Yifeng is not a superpower weapon, its performance is much better than the bow in the museum. You're using it smoothly, and your strength will continue to improve. As Ji Xingho listened to him, he took out a composite bow and adjusted it according to his own data. Pull distance, sight, and weight. The weight adjustment range of Yifeng is very large, from 70 kilograms to 130 kilograms, and it should be able to be used for a long time. Try shooting a few arrows, said Lu Yunhai. Okay. Ji Xingho calibrated his bow and immediately held it in his hand. The feeling of holding the bow handle was different. Because it is a bow designed for use by outsiders, the materials and design tend to be sturdy and durable, without the need for lightweight considerations. Therefore, Yifeng is much heavier than ordinary composite bows. With accessories added, the weight of the entire bow exceeds 7 kilograms, which is just right for oneself. Draw an arrow and bow, aim at the strings, and release. Pop. At the center of the target 100 meters away, an arrow is inserted into it. He shot continuously, taking only 30 seconds to shoot out all 20 arrows in one go, filling the 10 target centers. This is not the first time Lu Yunhai has seen it, but he was still amazed and shook his head, saying, "With your talent, practice moving targets and random targets again, and you can participate in the competition. You will definitely win the place." What competition? Ji Xingho asked. Chang'an holds many archery competitions every year, which are held all over the country. From amateur to professional levels, they are also divided into indoor shooting competitions, outdoor field archery competitions on zhaozuiyuan.com, online simulation battles, and so on. There are many spectators and many bonuses, Lu Yunhai briefly introduced. Ji Xingho's eyes lit up and he said, "How much is the bonus specifically?" Lu Yunhai replied, "Generally, those with high rankings have bonuses. In the highest level field archery competition in Chang'an, the champion's prize money should be several 100,000 yuan. However, it depends on the sponsor. If the sponsor is generous, it is normal for the champion's prize money to exceed 1 million yuan. Millions. Ji Xingho was immediately tempted. When is the Wilderness Archery Tournament? It was just held in May, and the next one will be next year. Lu Yunhai smiled and saw that Ji Xingho really wanted to participate. He said, "There will be a small competition next week, which is the Shooting Leaf Cup, jointly organized by several archery halls in Chang'an, with a prize of over 100,000 yuan. Do you have any registration requirements?" Ordinary people have no restrictions, and outsiders cannot exceed intermediate levels, explained Lu Yunhai. The Shooting Leaf Cup is a semi-professional competition, so the scale is relatively small. I have registered. Ji Xingho thought to himself, this just meets his requirements. In high-level large-scale competitions, although the championship prize money is higher, the competitors are also more powerful. If you show off, there may be some trouble. This semi-professional competition is small in scale, easy to win prizes, and won't attract too much attention. Okay, then I'll register for you, Lu Yunhai said eagerly. If you can win the championship, I can also follow suit. After all, you were taught by me and a member of the museum. Maybe the museum director will give you some extra rewards. Ji Xingho nodded. If you can get a bonus, this may be a good way to quickly make money for yourself. Chapter 9. Birthday. You are listening at novelfull.audio. July 23, 2223. Today is the birthday of Ji Xingho, who is 22 years old. As Lu Yunhai said, this may be the most important birthday in his life. Because on this day, Ji Xingho will meet his biological parents. If they are still alive. In the afternoon, Ji Xingho went out to practice archery in Qishan Wudong Archery Hall after his physical strength and star power were almost restored. He has already signed up to participate in the Shooting Leaf Cup competition, which will take place 3 days later. In recent days, according to the practice plan formulated by Lu Yunhai, Ji Xingho has been practicing shooting moving targets and random targets, making rapid progress and increasing his hit rate by a certain amount. At the end of the training, Lu Yunhai came over and said, "Happy birthday." "Thank you." Ji Xingho asked as he packed his bao bag, "Are you really not coming to the birthday party tonight?" Lu Yunhai shook his head and said, "No, after all, it's all your family, so I won't participate in your family gathering." "Okay. I'll treat you alone tomorrow." Ji Xingho didn't force himself, so he packed his things and left the archery hall. When he returned home, he washed himself up, changed into new clothes, and was fresh and clean, with a dignified appearance. However, he did not immediately set off, walked to the wall, opened the glass window, and quietly looked out at the bustling urban scenery, his expression complex. As the sky grew darker, Ji Xingho's figure was stretched by the sunset, shining on the wall behind him. Neons lit up outside skyscrapers, and maglev cars on the superconducting highway also turned on their headlights, converging into a turbulent and dazzling light strip. Ji Xingho regained his senses, glanced at time, and turned around to go out. At 7 o'clock in the evening, Ji Xingho arrived at the Weiyang building located in the center of Chang'an City. This skyscraper, with a height of 1,800 meters, is one of the tallest buildings in the capital. Its exterior design resembles a towering and magnificent palace, known as the Heavenly Palace. He took the elevator up to the 228th floor, where there was a high-end restaurant called Guxiang that had been booked last week. "Welcome back to our hometown." Ji Xingho followed the slender waitress in the magnificent corridor, and the guests passing by were all well-dressed and quite upscale. He rarely comes to such a high-end place, but his mind is not focused on it at the moment. Enter the private room. The wall on one side of the private room is a complete transparent glass, which can overlook most of Chang'an and enjoy the hustle and bustle of the capital city of the Communist Party of Asia. Standing here, it feels like standing on a cloud, overlooking all living beings. Ji Xingho didn't look much, sat down and ordered a table of dishes, then waited quietly. After a moment. Starfire. A tall young man pushed the door in. He has a handsome appearance, with a sunny smile on his face. As he walks, he is full of energy, and when he approaches, he can feel a warmth that is different from that of an ordinary person, making people feel very comfortable. Second brother. Ji Xingho stood up and welcomed him. The two hugged, and Zhongming patted his back hard before releasing it. He handed over the packaging box on his hand and said, "This is a birthday gift for you. The latest version of the electric walker power shoes can be used as a means of transportation, and you should like them." "Thank you, second brother." Ji Xingho politely accepted it. Zhongming has a high income, and for him, a pair of power shoes worth tens of thousands is just a few days' salary. He is the most successful of the 5 brothers and sisters. He became a stranger at the age of 19, and his career template is, burning crazy. Last year, Zhongming was promoted to an intermediate-level player at the age of 22. After graduation, he signed a contract with a club and is now working hard in the second-tier league. The team believes that he has the potential to enter the Super League in the future and is already quite famous. Zhongming was about to sit down when he suddenly paused and looked at Ji Xingho carefully. He couldn't help but ask, "Xingho, have you become a stranger?" Ji Xingho was about to answer when a cry of surprise came from outside the door. Third brother. Are you a stranger? A man and a woman walked quickly into the door, both in their early 20s, talking to beautiful girls. She was wearing a tight top with her belly button exposed, a colorful pleated short skirt underneath, paired with knee-high socks, and a light makeup on her face. Her hair, dyed in navy blue, was exquisitely styled, exuding a youthful and beautiful aura. In contrast, the young man beside her appeared very ordinary, thin and unkempt, with his hands in his pockets in a lazy posture, deliberately keeping a distance from her. In fact, he is keeping a distance from the camera suspended on the girl's side. Feifei, turn off the live broadcast, Zhongming reminded. Second brother, I don't live stream, I'm just filming my own life. If I become famous in the future, it will be the material of a documentary. Liang Qiufian walked in with a bright smile, manipulating the camera to fly around the room, and the camera was focused on Zhongming and Ji Xingho. Zhongming glanced at it, it was indeed just a shoot, and shook his head helplessly. Third brother, do you mind? Liang Qiufian asked again. It's okay. Ji Xingho is indifferent to this and has long been accustomed to it. When Liang Qiufian was just 18 years old and had just reached adulthood, she aspired to become a popular global anchor. She knew everything about singing, dancing, gaming, and performing, but was not very skilled. With her outstanding appearance, she live-streamed for 3 years and now she is a small anchor with hundreds of permanent viewers. She is almost always live-streaming, except for sleeping and using the restroom. There are tens of millions of people like her who live-stream their personal lives nationwide. Walking a few hundred meters on the streets of Chang'an, you can come across 7 or 8 of them. Ji Xingho never wanted to be on camera. He has enabled the portrait protection mode in the personal network privacy security settings. In this way, any image, live broadcast, video, or photo that appears on the internet, regardless of who took the photo, will be automatically processed and replaced with a random universal face unless authorized by the person themselves. Of course, this is only for public portrait protection. If there are legal issues or cases involved, government departments have the right to access data and obtain true information. Liang Qiufian leaned affectionately against Ji Xingho's side. She had always had a close relationship with third brother and asked happily, Third brother, you haven't answered me yet. Have you become a stranger? Yes, Ji Xingho nodded. When did it happen? Liang Qiufian learned that it had been almost 3 weeks, and her eyebrows curled up. She let out a fierce snort, you never told me about the beginning of the month. Before Ji Xingho could explain, she asked with a smile, Third brother, what career template did you choose? Zhongming also inquired with concern. Rangers. Ji Xingho smiled and answered, looking at the young man who had already sat down and had not said a word since entering the door. Zizhen, what are you busy with during the summer vacation? Third brother, are you talking nonsense? Liang Qiufian rushed back, what else can he do besides playing games? As she spoke, she complained, I live with him and can't see him 2 or 3 times a week. He even forgot your birthday today. If it weren't for me pulling him out, he would probably still be lying in the game cabin now, and his whole body would be moldy. Liang Qiufian and Wang Zizhen entered the same university, so they rented the same house. Both of them are 1 year younger than Ji Xingho and will not graduate until next year. However, their personalities are completely opposite. Liang Qiufian is lively and cheerful, positive and upward, very likable. At the bottom of the list, Wang Zizhen is very introverted and his life is completely flat. At the age of 15, he decided not to work for the rest of his life and did not want to become an outsider, addicted to virtual games and unable to extricate himself. I haven't forgotten, it's just that the boss of this dungeon was a bit powerful and didn't end in time, so it delayed a bit. Wang Zizhen defended himself by taking out a packaging box. Third brother, this is a gift I gave you. Thank you. Ji Xingho received the gift. Although Wang Zizhen did not say what was inside, his expression showed that he had prepared it very early and was full of sincerity. Third brother, I also bought you a birthday gift. Liang Qiufian quickly gave the gift and smiled, your phone has been in use for several years. I will buy you a new one, which is the recently popular Magic Star phone. I specially selected the black gold version for you, your favorite color. Ji Xingho was moved in his heart and said, thank you, Fei, for letting you spend the money. Last week, a little capitalist came to my live broadcast room and was very generous. He brushed me tens of thousands of yuan and happened to buy a phone for third brother, ahaha. Liang Qiufian looked proud. Ji Xingho and Zhong Ming exchanged a glance, and a hint of concern flashed in both of their eyes. Zhong Ming said seriously, Fei, please pay attention to protecting your information during the live broadcast and inform us promptly if there are any issues. I know. Liang Qiufei's face showed a cunning expression as she said, I'm not a child anymore. I know exactly what the tycoon who delivers money in the live broadcast is thinking. I'm going to become a big star in the future, and I have to avoid serious romantic relationships. How could I just mess with others for this little money? Ji Xingho also felt relieved and nodded, saying, as long as you have confidence in your heart. Four people sat together chatting. Today is Ji Xingho's birthday, and he is naturally the focus. Zhong Ming asked strangely, Starfire, didn't your previous goal always be the titanium cobalt dragon man? Why did you choose a ranger? Liang Qiufian and Wang Zizhen were also very curious. The competition among the titanium cobalt dragon people is too fierce. It will take at least 2 more years of training to have half the chance, but I can't wait anymore. Ji Xingho had already thought of his words before coming, and recently, I have been practicing archery with my classmates and found that I am very talented in archery, very suitable for rangers. His words are 7 parts true and 3 parts false, and the order of cause and effect is also reversed. The 3 siblings had no doubts. What a pity. Zhong Ming couldn't help but shake his head and said regretfully, your talent is higher than mine. If you become a titanium cobalt dragon person, then you will really soar to the sky. He grew up with Ji Xingho, aspired together, exercised together, and understood each other's situation very well. Ji Xingho's talent is definitely the highest in the family. Of the 5 brothers and sisters, only Ji Xingho can be called the genius of heaven. Although Zhong Ming currently has the highest achievements and strongest strength, he is well aware that Ji Xingho became an outsider a few years later in order to accumulate knowledge and achieve success. He will definitely surpass himself in the future. I just didn't expect that Ji Xingho's efforts to find Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com fell short, and he couldn't hold on for the last 2 years. The gap between Rangers and Titanium Cobalt Dragon people is really too big. Zhong Ming felt only regret in his heart, feeling sad for Ji Xingho, but he didn't show it on his face, after all, it was Ji Xingho's own choice. Yeah. Liang Qiufian and Wang Zizhen also looked regretful. Both of them have average innate willpower and cannot endure the hardships of exercise. Their physical fitness is average and they cannot pass the tests of the Star Realm Department, resulting in a very low probability of becoming outsiders. There was a moment of silence in the private room. Big sister, why haven't you arrived yet? Ji Xingho changed the topic and glanced at the time. It was already 7:30. There are 5 brothers and sisters. Yi Dongyun, the oldest, is the eldest sister. She graduated 2 years ago, but after failing to integrate different races, she gave up the path of being a different person and was admitted to the government department to become a civil servant. Nowadays, I am very busy every day and rarely speak in groups. Occasionally, I also share some government news. Big sister recently participated in a key project. It is said that if she does well, she may be promoted. Liang Qiufian has been clingy to her older sister since childhood, and she has had a lot of private contact. Here we go. Before a person arrives, the sound arrives first. As soon as the words fell, a woman dressed in exquisite and capable attire pushed the door in. She was carrying a briefcase and gift box in her hand, and as soon as she entered the door, her originally solemn expression immediately turned into a warm smile. Sorry for keeping everyone waiting, brothers and sisters. In the afternoon, I had some last-minute matters and went on a business trip to Tianfu City. As soon as it was over, I rushed back, which delayed me by half an hour. Yi Dongyun explained with a smile on her face and gave her a gift in her hand. Third brother, happy birthday to you. Chapter 10. Public Families. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Thank you, big sister. Ji Xingho took the gift. He looked at Yi Dongyun, who was covered in dust. She looked very capable, but deep in his eyes, there was a hint of imperceptible fatigue. So she said with concern, Sister, you should pay more attention to rest and not be too busy with work to exhaust your body. Yeah. Zhongming also nodded, Big sister, don't try too hard. Yi Dongyun sat down and took a sip of water, sighing, there's nothing I can do. The pressure on civil servants nowadays is increasing, and the competition is no less intense than that of the competition. I won't do it, but more people are willing to do it. If I relax a bit, I will soon be eliminated by others. That's not enough to exhaust the body, it's not worth it, Liang Qiufian said with concern. Don't worry, Yi Dongyun rubbed her hair. I've been preparing to squeeze out an hour every day lately to pick up my fitness habits again. Ji Xingho nodded and said, that's good. He was about to say that exercise is always beneficial, but Yi Dongyun's next sentence was. When I finish exercising, I'll roll up with my colleagues hard, roll them up. Everyone is speechless. Alright, let's not talk about my business anymore. Yi Dongyun clapped her hands and took out her elder sister's style. Today is Spark's birthday, and it's rare for the five of us to have the opportunity to gather together in adulthood. Everyone is happier. She asked the waiter to serve the dishes and prepare for the family as before. Delicious dishes were served one after another, and drinks were also opened. Everyone is full. Yi Dongyun raised her glass and made everyone around the table stand up. She smiled and said, First, we want to wish Xingho a happy birthday. Happy birthday. Cheers. The atmosphere in the private room is both warm and lively. While eating delicious food, the five brothers and sisters talked about interesting stories and jokes, laughed and forgot all their troubles for the time being. Ji Xingho's mood was very joyful. Looking at them, he thought to himself that this is my family. A true family. Although they are half brothers and half sisters, they are not different from their relatives by blood, and they are legally related. Because they are public families. In the mid-1960s, the four countries signed the Ivangrad Treaty, declaring the end of World War IV and gradually stabilizing the global geopolitical landscape. At that time, the Asia-Pacific Peoples United Community, a powerful country that had been established for almost 20 years, had a peaceful domestic environment, rapid technological advancements, and happy people's lives. However, a problem gradually emerged. Both the wealthy and ordinary citizens are unwilling to have children. This seems to be a self-curse of humanity. Starting from industrialization that began centuries ago, regardless of which country or race, the better the development and higher the civilization, the inevitable decline in fertility rate. And once this decline occurs, it is irreversible. No matter what policies or measures the government introduces, the decline in fertility rate can only slow down and cannot recover. In 2033, the opening of the Stargate temporarily solved this fertility problem. Global turmoil, and humanity experienced over a century-long extinction crisis and 2 world wars. In times of war, the government's means are naturally not as gentle as in times of peace. To win a war, there must be someone first. A large population may not win, but a small population will definitely fail. To this end, governments around the world have mobilized resources, issued mandatory laws, supplemented by reproductive technology, and unleashed a frenzy of population growth. When humans are in suffering, they are actually willing to give birth. Having spent over a century like this. After the war, governments around the world once again faced the problem of declining birth rates. However, compared to the difficulties of the early 21st century, there are already solutions in the 22nd century, and the biggest obstacle is no longer the reproductive process, but ethical and moral controversies. The answers given by countries around the world are not the same. In the early 2270s, the Asian Communist Party government proposed a very large and comprehensive continuation plan and listed it as one of the most important national policies, investing astronomical amounts of finance and resources. The continuation plan is divided into two parts. The first part is life. According to national policy requirements and population changes, a certain number of babies will be nurtured using artificial uterus technology every year and month, with regular quotas. These babies are all legal citizens, and their political rights are identical to those of babies born into normal families, known as public children. Public children are prohibited by legislation from seeking their own biological parents, and even if they unexpectedly meet, they have no legal relationship. The second part is nurturing. Public children are raised by the government from birth and are divided into 4 stages based on age. 0.2 years old is infancy, 2.6 years old is early childhood, 6.12 years old is childhood, and 12.18 years old is adolescence. Public children of the same age group, consisting of 4 to 6, form a public family. At each stage of a public family, there are at least 3 professional parents who take care of it, and they are responsible for both parenting and education. This position is called parenting or parenting. Parenting parents are professional guardians who need to go through multiple rounds of assessment before they can serve. Of course, their salaries are extremely high. Until now, it is still one of the professions with the best income and benefits, and has political rights beyond ordinary citizens, and its social status is also at the forefront of the country. The younger the children are in public households, the more people have parents. The infancy period is the most common, usually 1 to 2 more than the number of babies. As children grow and develop self-care abilities, public families rotate new parents at each stage, and the number of parents gradually decreases to 2. At the age of 18, parents will resign. At the same time, they also lost their guardianship and no longer have a family relationship with public children. In order to ensure the physical and psychological health and growth of public children, psychological inquiries are conducted almost every month, and high-frequency random checks are also conducted. Non-blind cameras are installed in the home to comprehensively monitor every move of the public family. Unqualified parents will be immediately disqualified, and those who commit serious mistakes will be sent to court and sentenced to severe punishment. In addition, there are a series of laws and regulations related to public households, taking into account all aspects. The continuation plan was initially only a trial implementation. In the 1990s, the first group of public children entered the workforce and made many contributions to society and the country. Like children from their original families, they were citizens with normal intelligence and mental health. The continuation plan was a great success, and years of investment paid off. The Communist Party of Asia government immediately expanded its plan and entered the 23rd century, finally solving the population problem. Up to now, the population of the Asia-Pacific community has reached 5.6 billion. Among them, the proportion of public children reaches 20%, and the government adjusts the continuation plan based on finance and resources, resulting in an annual increase in population. Ji Xingho's brothers and sisters are all public children. But he is slightly different. Ji Xingho was not cultivated by an artificial uterus. He was born naturally, but his parents lost custody and handed him over to the government for custody. There are still many people like Ji Xingho. In the 1990s, the success of the continuation plan breathed a sigh of relief for the Communist Party of Asia government, but it also resulted in a negative outcome, with more people unwilling to have children. Another factor is that, at the beginning of its founding, the Asia-Pacific community legislated to prohibit abortion, requiring at least one spouse to pass an exam on how to become a qualified parent in order to obtain guardianship. These two contradictory laws are also one of the important reasons for the decline in birth rates. So, many parents who accidentally become pregnant but fail the exam are deprived of guardianship. Some couples voluntarily give up their custody and leave their children to the government. It is commonly known as managing one's life without caring about their upbringing. These children who leave their original family are included in the continuation plan and are also considered public children, commonly referred to as foster children. Ji Xingho is a foster child who only learned about it at the age of 18. According to the law, foster children who reach the age of 22 and graduate from university have mature psychological conditions and can have the opportunity to contact their biological parents. After contact, with the consent of both parties, it is possible to re-establish a legal kinship relationship and return to the family of origin. So, this birthday is of great significance to Ji Xingho. He is about to face a major decision in life. The brothers and sisters at home also know this. Today, they all put aside everything and got together to celebrate Ji Xingho's birthday and accompany him. Ji Xingho received messages of blessings from close classmates and friends. Halfway through the birthday banquet, there were also video calls from parents who had taken care of and educated this public family in adolescence, childhood and early childhood. They were very happy to see their brothers and sisters and sent birthday wishes to Ji Xingho. Only adolescent parents know that Ji Xingho is a substitute child. After leaving this family, they enter another public family and have new responsibilities. Working parents are very busy with work and don't have much rest time. They also have their own families and children. In the years since going to college, Ji Xingho has only met his foster parents 2 or 3 times. Although there has been occasional contact, as his mind matures, his relationship with them inevitably weakens. He also discussed with his brothers and sisters about general matters. At 10 o'clock in the evening, the restaurant sent a bowl of birthday noodles and a big cake. Brothers and sisters sang a birthday song for Ji Xingho together, and then lit candles on the cake. Third brother, make a wish quickly. Liang Qiufian shouted loudly. Ji Xingho stood among the people and smiled, saying, I make a wish every year, and I haven't seen it come to fruition once. Can I skip it this year? How can that be done? Liang Qiufian aimed the floating camera at Ji Xingho. This is a tradition that has been around for hundreds of years. On birthdays, you must eat longevity noodles and cake, and make wishes. Today is such an important day, so you must take it seriously. Maybe this time it will work. Yi Dongyun also smiled and said, Starfire, just follow what Feifei said, don't procrastinate. Okay. Ji Xingho can only agree. Wang Zizhen turned off the lights in the private room, and the whole room suddenly darkened. Zhong Ming said, make a wish. Ji Xingho stood in front of the cake. He could see clearly even in the dark. His eyes swept over the faces of his brothers and sisters and fell out of the window. The Weiyang building towered into the clouds. At this moment, the world that comes into view from outside is divided into 2 parts. Below is a super city with dazzling lights and towering buildings. Looking up, a brilliant Milky Way hangs in the night sky, with billions of stars illuminating the sky, making one dizzy and mesmerizing. Ji Xingho closed his eyes and said to himself, may my family be safe, healthy, happy, and able to achieve their dreams in their careers. May I climb the peak of life's evolution, appreciate the magnificent waves of the Milky Way, and enjoy the extraordinary scenery of the star world. It's not a waste of my life. After the wish was over, he gently blew out the candle.